Franklin County Fiscal Court work session for January 27th, 2020. Before we get started, we're going to be led in prayer by Dr. Phil Hill from the United Methodist Church. Dr. Hill, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the honor to pray. Let's join together in prayer. Holy and merciful God, we approach you this evening with gratitude in our hearts for the creation of this day. And we give thanks for the freedom to gather in this place and care for the business of this great community. We call upon you, O God, to provide our county's leaders with the gift of your divine wisdom and insight. Provide in and through them a vision to govern in the light of faith. Forgive us when we do not follow your will, when we have broken your laws, and when we have not loved our neighbors, and when we've not heard the cry of our fellow citizens. Set us straight on your path of hope and purpose for this great community. Bless now Judge Executive Wells and our magistrates, our first responders, and all the employees of Franklin County. And grant us the strength to persistently seek the things that endure, and to grow ever richer in that love which is the life of all people. It's through our holy Creator that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Dr. Hill. Appreciate it, and thank you for all that you do for our community. Appreciate it very much. Okay, today we're going to recognize two of our first responders, Nick Scroggum from the fire department, from Deputy of the Year, and our firefighter of the year. I think this is reversed. The firefighter of the year, Mr. Nicholas Scroggum in the back, and the the sheriff's deputy of the year is Detective Jeff Farmer. Is Jeff here? I don't see Jeff here.
Jeff is out of state right now.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, Mr. Scroggum, can you come up, Chief? Come up and if you would, with the presentation and introduce him, and let's all recognize the firefighter of the year, VFW firefighter of the year.
Yes, this is firefighter Nicholas Scroggum. He was awarded the VFW Firefighter of the Year award. Very well deserving, hard-working young man, very dependable. We're proud to have him represent Franklin County as the VFW Firefighter of the Year.
Congratulations. Okay. I'm sorry, Detective Farmer couldn't be here, but we appreciate him and honor him as being Deputy of the Year. The next item on the agenda is discussion about Franklin County Schools and the turf fields funding request. Mr. Kopp, Superintendent Kopp's here. Houston Barber couldn't be here, and I wore the special orange and blue for him today for what a great job the Panthers did in the All-A Classic.
Well,
But we welcome you, sir.
Thank you. And I really appreciate being here and having a few moments of your time. And I do want the record reflected that I'm here and he's not. Houston called me about 15 minutes ago, and he's got a special called meeting that he had to attend to. And so he does send his regrets. And I'm regretful that he's not here as well, because we do stand in unison with his request that we are asking, first of the city and then of the county as well. We're asking for support for the purchase and installation of turf fields at the three high schools, Frankfort Independent, Western Hills, and Franklin County High School. I think you all have read a lot in the news about turf fields. You've probably seen a lot on social media about turf fields. And I think it can't go unstated the importance of doing this in terms of obviously the athletes and the extracurricular folks who are going to use those fields on our facilities. The reason we're coming to you, when I took this job 2.5 years ago, going on 3 years now, believe it or not.
By the way, congratulations.
Thank you. One of the very first meetings that I attended was the Chamber of Commerce had a big gathering. I think several of you were there at that meeting. And we talked at that time in June actually, of 2017 about the need to grow this community. And we're 3 years later and we're still talking about the need to grow this community. So we were approached by some folks in the community about what are some things that we could do to make Frankfort and Franklin County a destination. And I came to Frankfort. I lived here prior in 2005 to 2009, and this was the first superintendent job that I applied for because I love this community and I wanted to come back here. But from 2009 to 2017, I lived in Hardin County, in Elizabethtown, in a community that invested in the sports park, Elizabethtown Sports Park. And a little different than what we have here in that they passed a restaurant tax, a 2-cent tax, and they built a $27 million facility that has really seen their community, the creation of that sports park, it has just boomed. 9 hotels have been built there, over 30 restaurants have come to Hardin County since that time. But the one thing that I'll say that it was a challenge, I lived in that community, and my daughter, little thing at the time, now she's getting to be a bigger thing, she played soccer, and she was never able to play at the Elizabethtown Sports Park. The first time I actually ever saw the sports park was when my nephew from Oldham County played in a tournament there. It was really excluded, the community never got to participate in the riches of that park, and that was always a sore spot. What we're proposing is a collaboration, a partnership, where we have turnkey facilities at all 3 of our high schools ready to go and ready to start hosting athletic events. Soccer, 7-on-7 football, band competitions, lacrosse, whatever it happens to be. We have turnkey facilities that are ready and they just need turf. And what schools can't do, just so you know, is we cannot use bonding capacity on athletic facilities. You have to use general fund dollars. And there's not a lot of school districts that have, in our case, probably $1.8 million is what 2 fields would cost, 1.8 to 2 million. It's really hard to write that check when you have a lot of other needs in your district. So what we're asking is a partnership, a collaboration, some support from the city and county to where we can enter into an MOU with the city and county, with the Parks and Recs, which are fantastic in this community, and start drawing in tournaments that will bring business to all 3 areas of Frankfort, downtown, the east side, and the west side. That's kind of the built-in advantage of having those 3 sites. And then as a second phase of this project, obviously there's some logistical issues at the Sauer complex that need to be taken care of. Some lighting and electrical and bathroom facilities, some of those things that need to be upgraded. But then as a second phase, if we could then also look at that facility, if we had 5 fields in this community, the types of tournaments that we could draw in and the people that we could bring into our community would help our community grow. We are stagnant in Franklin County. We have been for several years. We're looking at Scott County with over 17% growth over the last 10 years. Shelby County is growing. Woodford County is growing. We're less than 1% growth in this community. So that was really the impetus for coming and asking for some collaboration. Whether that collaboration and that support is an upfront cash payment or whether it would be something that could be a year to year. What we would most likely have to do is we would have to take out what's called a general fund bond. We can't use bonding capacity, but you can take out a loan against your general fund. And usually general fund bonds they're warranted at the length of warranty for the product that you're using that money for. So in the case of turf fields, most turf fields are about an 8-year warranty. So we would have a loan payment over an 8-year time period that we could pay off for those fields. So whether that's just a little bit of money each year that you could give to support us making that bond payment or some payment up front. We're also interested in some in-kind services. We're going to need to, as part of the construction process of the turf fields, we're going to have to haul in dirt and do some of those things. We're really open to any help that we can get. Understand that we're still going to do everything that we can as a school district to make the best decision for our students. We're always going to do that. It would just be extremely helpful, and I think mutually beneficial, a symbiotic relationship, if we can help each other. And so that's what we're asking. I'm speaking obviously on behalf of my colleague and myself, and I'd be more than glad to answer any questions that you might have.
So if you don't mind, I'll start. When we say ball fields, you're talking about the football field becoming a turf field and for soccer as
Yes,
well.
multi-sport, multi-purpose field. One thing that we've never been able to have in Franklin County have been band competitions. And we have two fantastic bands at Western Hills and in Franklin County. So this would also allow us to host band competitions in addition to football and obviously soccer, yes. And the reason for putting those fields in, it's been shown that grass, beyond just being very expensive to upgrade, it just doesn't hold up very well. And we can't play soccer games and football games on grass. By the end of the football season itself at Franklin County, I think many of you may have seen on social media what had happened to our grass fields. It just, Kentucky weather's difficult.
Okay. Mr.
Well,
Hart?
you said 8-year warranty, but what is the life expectancy of the turf field?
Fantastic question. What we've been told in doing the research, we've been talking to several companies, you can expect anywhere from 10 to 12 years. Generally, they'll only warranty them for 8, but you'll generally have to replace the turf after a 10 to 12 year.
But a lot of this money is in preparation for the turf, right?
It is.
So what
Yeah.
would a cost be to redo one? Do you know that?
I couldn't give you an accurate figure other than I know that it wouldn't be the cost that we're looking at up front.
Right, yeah.
Again, because what happens at the end, when the turf has kind of, lived its life, you really just take it in, tear it up, add some more of the rubber little pellet things and put down new turf. You're not having to do infill on all of that.
Right.
Okay, other questions?
And by the way, I'm voting big time for the under on the 9 o'clock thing tonight. So, but I'll be more than glad to answer any
Put
questions that you have.
put that money on the field.
And I do want, I do also want you all to know, I realize that you have so many difficult decisions to make in terms of fiscal resources. Believe me, I get that very much so in my job as well. I just think this is something, and Houston agrees, that we could really help each other with this.
Any other questions? Questions? Okay, well, here's what we would do is, we'll put this on our kind of wish list, and I had brought it up ultimately to go to strategic planning and look at what the thought is, and if the court is willing, it would have to be more likely in our new budget for starting in July.
Understood. Understood. And my grandmother, God rest her soul, always taught me beggars can't be choosers. So we're coming out with our hands out, but yes,
Do you
sir.
have a timeline that you would like to get started?
Another great question. Yes. We were just discussing our district facility planning process that we've been going through, and that facility plan is sitting in the hands of the Kentucky Department of Education right now. We're very hopeful to get that plan back and approved by our board before April. If that occurs, then I can take that plan to our Board of Education and say, here's something that's on the plan, because the installation of turf fields at both high schools is on that draft plan. If they were to approve that as an expense in April, we would then have the rest of the month of April, May, June, and July to have those installed. We've been told by the two of the companies that we've talked to, at most it would be a 12-week process. So if everything kind of falls into place, by August 1st, we will have turf fields. If approved again by the Board of Education, that's their decision.
Squire Muller?
So you've talked to 2 companies so far?
Yes.
So what are your thoughts? So when would an RFP actually go out? Once you got to that point, I guess?
Yes. As soon as we get that draft plan back, we would go to our Board of Education and then put out an RFP if they approve that.
And you're doing it for the two from the county school systems as well as the cities. too, is that
The
right?
cities would be something different. They would have to take up the same process, but something that Houston Barber and I have been talking about is, you know, the possibility of having a combined board meeting of both boards to discuss this issue. And that's something that maybe both boards could take up at the same time.
Okay. Squire Tracy?
What type of upkeep and maintenance is involved?
Great question. They have, as part of that RFP process, when you get a turf field, and by the way, there are 39 turf fields from Lexington to Louisville in this corridor. 31, or I'm sorry, there are 39 football fields. 31 of them have turf. 8 don't. We're 3 of those. They give you a machine that helps compact the little pellets. I wish I could talk technically about this. I sound kind of, you know, ignorant about it, which I kind of am. But they've explained that process to it. As part of the RFP, you do get this machine, so our maintenance department would be, you know, periodically using that machine to help. But they're pretty maintenance free. I mean, they're pretty low maintenance.
Squire?
So have you talked to the people that put the tournaments on? Because if there's 31 out of 39 already, what's to say that they're going to choose Frankfurt?
Yeah, fantastic question. We're really relying on working with the Parks and Rec folks here because you do have some fantastic people working, and we've had several meetings with them. As far as talking to individual groups that do the tournaments, no, we haven't had those discussions. The hope is, though, that at bottom line, I'm just going to speak, you know, as generally as I can, but folks who live in Lexington will not travel to Louisville to play in tournaments, generally speaking. People who live in Louisville don't travel to Lexington. For whatever reason, those folks just don't like going. But guess where they will go? They'll go right in between those two. We are so wonderfully situated as a community. You know, we're an hour and 10 minutes from the outskirts of Cincinnati. We're, you know, 30 minutes from Lexington. We're 45 minutes from Louisville. We are primed in our position to really be able to draw a lot of these tournaments. We're very, very excited and positive about the impact that could bring.
Could I ask that maybe somebody from your team maybe start to reach out? 'Cause
Absolutely.
To
Sure.
me, as let's say investor,
Yeah.
it would make more sense to know that
Sure.
the possibilities there, and we're not just speculating.
Absolutely. And I'll speak just like from I have a brother whose child plays soccer, and we kind of had this discussion, and the group that he plays for is an elite team, and they have to travel to Indianapolis to play, or to Elizabethtown when that park is available, which isn't very often. He has stated, and again, you can't just use your brother as a witness, but he's like, hey, you know, you're going to have plenty of folks that are going to fill up your fields. So, but yes, we'll
Right.
absolutely will do that.
What kind of, sorry,
Hang on, Marty. Squire Tracy's next.
Obviously, there's a huge push throughout the community for soccer and football, but what about your other sports? Can we expect you to come back and say, you know, we can hold huge softball tournaments if all 3 or 4 parks are, what about baseball? What about softball?
Sure. You know, I think that would be, in terms of turfing those fields, if that's what you're asking, I think that would be it wouldn't be on our district facility plan at this point. That would be something that we'd have to take up down the road. We do have fantastic facilities already in place, but again, the Kentucky weather does kind of, you know, tear those up a bit. But anything is on the table, and it's something that we'd be very happy to have those discussions about. This was a priority, though.
Squire?
capacity for the spectators at these fields?
Yes.
What does Elizabethtown have as a capacity?
As far as the way the Elizabethtown complex is set up, they have a great deal of parking, but in terms of actual stands, if you're not familiar with that park, that facility has one main field that has bleacher seating, and then there are kind of portable bleachers around some of the other spots. So in terms of what we have at all three of our high schools, we already have capacity for thousands of spectators.
How many thousands did you say?
Well, if we looked at Franklin County, you have both sets of bleachers, you're, well over 2,000 to 3,000, when you, and a lot of folks kind of stand around the track around there too. Western Hills only has one set of bleachers, but it's a very large set of bleachers. So we're probably looking at 1,600 to 1,800 there. And then I can't speak to Frankfurt Independence number. I've been there, but I wouldn't want to hazard a guess.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, our next step will be, it's on our strategic planning committee, which is next week sometime.
Yes, sir.
And we'll talk about it and see, and then at that point, what if whatever comes out of the strategic plan, we'll come back to the court, and then we'll have that discussion and move forward on it.
And any further information, I'll get to you. And I thank you for your kind attention and just for listening to us. We appreciate it very
Yeah, we
much.
appreciate you.
All right.
Great,
Thank you.
great that everybody's working together
Absolutely.
in our community.
That's important. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bardstown's really nice. What is? Bardstown. No, go ahead.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the feasibility study cost share. I bring that to you all because the city has asked us to look at the cost of $26,426.20 that the city paid for to do the feasibility study on the Humane Society. They've asked that we split the cost, being $13,231.10, to split it with them, or that in whatever amount that we decide to use in our next presentation about the the Humane Society building, that if we don't give it to them now, that we add that to the cost of,
We subtract it.
well, no, we would add that, they would subtract. We would add the 13,000 to, if we were gonna give them $100,000, we would give $113,231, the city would give 13,000 less. So.
I see.
That's,
Yeah.
that's on the table, so discussion about that.
That sounds fair.
Which fair is, there's two fairs there. The county fair, the state fair, which one do you want?
It sounds fair for the county and the city to split the cost for the feasibility study.
Uh-huh. And how would you propose to do that?
Well, the humane or the animal shelter part of the Humane Society takes in more animals from the cities than they do the county. So if we wanted to use that, we would talk about 60-40, maybe, instead of 50-50. But 50-50 is acceptable to me.
So do you want to pay it, ask Susan to put it on the next agenda, paying the 13,000 direct payment, or take it off the monies that, or add it to the monies that we're going to be discussing towards the Humane Society?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, that's,
I would go on and pay it now if we're gonna pay it.
okay, there's a,
Judge, let me ask you, because we weren't in much of those negotiations. I mean, did they ever, I don't remember them ever like saying, will you pay for half, or how that came about?
they
you know?
didn't, they're just asking that once it was done, they're asking that, in order for it to move forward, the Humane Society asked that it be done, and,
And this was a study of the old State Journal building, I assume?
that is correct. The feasibility on that building.
I would like for it to be 60-40, but I said I'd accept 50-50, and Lambert suggested that we pay it right away.
Well, I mean, I said if we're gonna pay it, I think we need to go and pay it. rather
Oh.
than-
Okay, I
Uh,
think that's
It also
good.
falls in our hands as our responsibility.
It does.
They do use more of it than we do.
It's
No.
the Constitution, state constitution. We get,
No, I don't like it.
there's nothing below.
Squire Blackburn is, you may speak.
60/40 is still outside the number of the proportion of animals, I believe. It's more like 70/30.
Well, the Humane Society, they can give you a better count than,
Well, they did the last time.
Yeah.
They have, yeah, and I've looked at their numbers quite a bit in the last 6 months. So it's about 33%, 30%. And it, like you said, it is our responsibility constitutionally to take care of it, so.
All right, I hear where this is going. I'm gonna say this. I want us to be careful. Because we're getting ready to talk with the Humane Society, talk about discussion. Here's what's gonna happen if we're not careful. Lambert, you know where I'm gonna go with
I know
this.
exactly where you're going.
I caution you, 13,000 is not that much money from the feasibility. The city can very easily say, come back and say, we're giving them property valued at $120,000, $300,000, whatever that value is, and say, well, if that's the case, then if you wanna play that kind of ball, we'll play ball, and we'll just say that we'll subtract the amount of the property that we're giving them off of that amount that we would be paying towards the Humane Society. And then they'd ask us to make that up. And I don't want to get into that kind of rut. You know, Lambert, that's exactly
I
what.
know exactly what you're saying.
You
I'm
know,
saying the same thing.
it would be fair to split the cost, but I would like for them to see if they can, give us more money for inspectors and give us more
Well, that's a whole
responsibility.
different subject at this point in time.
Yeah, but it will be part of a negotiation with them in the future, I hope.
Okay.
It'll take me long to get hungry.
You want me to pull it off, not go any further, and come back to it another time?
Oh, you
Uh,
mean table
I
it?
think we need to do something, go on and do something with it.
You willing to pay the half of the price?
I am, I don't know.
Okay. Anybody else?
Cost war with them.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
To
so-
pay it right,
No.
to pay it now.
Yeah. You're okay, Marty?
Yeah, I said I could accept it.
And I can accept it, so there's not a fourth vote to pay them?
Susan?
Susan, where is Susan?
She's in your Amber's office.
You need to, would you be in here? Come here.
I'm
Okay.
listening.
Okay. Scotty has a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Is this going to, I mean, obviously it'll affect it, but what's your thoughts on paying this bill?
It's not budgeted.
Correct.
That's pretty straightforward. So it would be up to the court to decide if it's a expense they want to bear. And then I'll
If we
find
paid
a
it
way-
now, that's way, or we could put it in the budget for July.
Right.
Well, we could do that. That is acceptable to me as well.
Is that acceptable to you, Lambert? Put it in the budget for July?
Yes.
Okay. No one else wants to do it?
You didn't want to pay anything on it to split the cost, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I guess we're at the point we can't get half of it, so what are we gonna do? Just tell them we're not gonna pay it?
Ultimately, I think we are to talk about it during budget session. I mean, I'd like to thank them and move on, thank them for paying it and move on, but it's just, you know, they come in, they just hand us a bill whenever they want to and expect us to pay it. It'd really been nice to have some conversation inside of the committee that was formed about doing this, instead of the city making the decision for all of us and then coming back and wanting us to pay it, so I say we discuss it going to the next budget where it's in the budget.
Okay. You think half is reasonable?
I told you what, I'd like to thank them for paying it and move on. But again, I know where we're at, if, you know, if it all ultimately falls back in our laps.
Squire Sebastian?
I
certainly realize this is not part of our budgeted expenditures for this year. And we're 5 months out and we don't know what else is really gonna fall in our lap, so not that I'm looking forward to kicking the can down the road, but I'd like to have a thoughtful discussion about this rather than a piece of paper putting it in front of us and saying, hey,
So what does that mean? Does that mean go to budget, or?
I'd like to discuss it in the budget because there may be other ways where we are sharing services or other things that could help offset in some way. And I think that's what sounds like Marty's getting at, and maybe Scotty's going to. But again, I don't want to speak for them. It sounds like
Yes,
that's part of
exactly
the
what I
conversation.
said.
Yeah.
Squire Muller?
Who else is on that, were you on that committee?
Yes.
So was there any, I mean, I'm not trying to get out of paying a bill one way or another, but I mean, I see both sides, because to me, as a business owner, it's like kind of having the work done, then saying it was gonna be no cost, and then somebody's handing us a bill.
I think it was done in the
So-
spirit of moving forward, making sure we did something to move towards the direction of taking care of a facility for them. And I think the assumption was made that that was gonna be the alternative. And when it's not, there's a different direction we're gonna have to go. So that's kind of what's happened. But I think they initially agreed to pay to it because the city thought this was the direction that it was gonna be.
So that's why, did you?
And that's
have
why they
any-
paid for it. I can assure you they didn't take my word on speaking for the whole court.
But I mean, you accepted that as a basically thing in the committee. Did it come before the committee at all?
It was discussed during
They
the
said
committee.
we're gonna pay it and we'll figure it out later, basically.
Oh,
Because they wanted to move things forward and get the Humane Society in the building.
okay.
I guess I would like to go to budget session then, talk about it, you know, and hammer it out then. Because like Squire Sebastian said, we're still a long ways from figuring out how we're gonna get everything paid for it as it is.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that? We'll go to budget?
Yeah, we don't have enough to talk about during budget, let's do it then.
Yeah,
All right, okay. Okay. Mr. Marcus, let's talk about the animal shelter facility funding request.
Okay, hi, everybody.
Hey,
Should be easy compared to the last discussion. right?
I don't have it in the slide, it's just PDFs.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
It's just the
So
one you said.
Push a little harder.
is there a way to,
He's gotta do it
I
over
mean,
there.
you'll have to.
Oh, you
tell
do it
me
over
what you
there.
want. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
why don't we start with the revised, the bullet points?
We put airplane crash.
This,
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so hopefully everybody got that. And I don't know if you had a chance to look through it, if you had some questions based on that. I certainly want to kind of go through a summary of points, but I don't really want to go through all of this line by line unless you really have questions about it. Can you scroll on that, or is it, yeah, okay.
I think you probably need to reiterate what you're asking for, Sam, if you would, because this is a discussion. And as not as total in depth as before, but just briefly.
Okay, so our funding request is 900,000 cash, 100,000 in kind.
from the city and county. No,
Pardon?
from us, yes.
Yes, from you all. We're asking the same from the city. And we have approximately 1.1 million in cash on hand and pledged. Our capital campaign would then be 1.2 to 1.5 million, to allow a little bit of flexibility, also depending on the level of funding that is provided by the.
Go back up.
Yes.
So those figures are indicated at the top part. And you can see that you've got the location is the Carpenter Farm. The size is 9,300 approximately square feet. And that's reduced from almost 13,000 square feet. Our current shelter is 8,600. Might be a good time on that, Andrew, to go to this slide, which is the square foot comparisons.
Oh,
So what you'll see is the 8,600 feet in the current shelter on the far left. The original plan, which was with the interior walls, was a little over 13,000 feet. The new plan, which is a little over 10,000 feet, counting the exterior and interior walls. And then on the far right, you have a good comparison between the amount of space we're in now, the reduced plan, and the original plan. And I think what's important to note here is how little difference there is really between the space we're in now and the space in the revised plan,
size-wise, yeah.
size-wise. Now, the way we can make it work is we'll have an efficient facility, whereas now, of course, we have a completely inefficient facility. But I think it's instructive to be able to see what we're looking at in terms of size. It's a bare minimum for a new facility.
So the 8635 takes into consideration all the trailers that you're using for storage and things like
Yes,
that?
yeah, and you can see, so you've got like outlying structures
Okay.
there, storage, you've got small housing.
Right.
Right, so yeah, so we counted the space that we
Everything.
are actually
That's not
utilizing.
just, that's counting the open air things that are under roof.
That's
as
not
well.
counting open air, no.
That are under roof?
Well, only the passageway,
In between the buildings?
Inside, it's part of the building. And so that little rectangle in front are the three.
yeah, but it's not counting.
It's not counting.
It's not counting open air. It's not counting open air,
Like the outdoor kennels and stuff?
right.
Got you.
Okay. I don't know if we should go back to the original slide or not. Okay. You had asked about a timeline. Well, first of all, to talk about the in-kind services. From our discussion previously, it sounded like you could do areas such as cleaning, grading, concrete paving, bituminous paving. It would be likely that the fencing would be done by the city. But I think the other areas are areas you've indicated you would be able to do or help with.
Okay.
As far as the timeline, if we can get this worked out, we would kick off our campaign at our waiters' dinner on April 4th. And by the way, we'll be sending you an invitation for that here shortly. Ask you to help us as waiters, please. We'd like to have a ceremonial groundbreaking by the end of the year. Of course, obviously, that would be nice, especially for our city partners and some of the commissioners and the mayor who will be leaving office. We would, if fully funded, we would complete the capital campaign by March 1st. We'd start building construction in May, and we'd have a grand opening the following July. So a little over 2 years, 2.5 years max.
Question. So the numbers that you've provided are all just from the architecture firm? As far as the total cost of the project? I mean, that's who's giving the numbers right now?
Yes,
Is the architects?
yes.
You haven't talked to any contractors or anything like that yet,
No,
correct?
not yet,
Okay.
right. And they would have to have construction documents to
Right,
really
yeah.
be able to nail that.
How far are you from having those? Like how much timeline is that gonna take then?
I don't really know how long it takes to do construction documents. I don't think it would take too long. There'd have to be an RFP for it.
Okay.
The other slide maybe we could go to, if they're in much more on that part, is to show the floor plan. And don't need to probably say a whole lot about that, but what we've done is we have kept the same number of dog kennels that we need, and that's a total of 40. That's not much more than we have now, actually, honestly, but our intake for dogs has been pretty steady. And so, we determined with the original plan that 40 would work for us. You'll see, especially in the middle of the space, toward the bottom actually, you've got cat condos. I don't know if you can see that right in the middle toward the bottom of the screen. That's actually a reduced number from the original plan. We just don't have the space for the original plan. But we have some flexibility space, and so that's what we would utilize to make do. You see the clinic area is up in the middle part of the facility. Might look like a lot, but it's not huge space. You have 2 surgery tables. A lot of that is holding areas for the cats and the dogs. You have to have some medical storage because we do have drug storage that needs to be secure. You've got a treatment area, and then you have a small vet office. And then you also have to have gas, so there's a medical gas space.
Will you not need a separate space for the TNR anymore?
TNR we actually have, if you'll see in the bottom of the clinic, toward the middle, there's a holding area.
Yeah, but that means that it does not have to be done outside of your facility.
Correct, yes, we would be able to do TNR in the new facility, which is of course really important to us.
Question. So obviously you scaled this back.
Yes.
And let's say 5 years from now, you want to build onto it. Do the architects take that into consideration as far as what direction you would go if you needed more space and wanted more space and could afford more space?
Yeah, they've actually done that with this is expanded space over here, which you can see in the diagram as well. This would actually be phase 2. We really need that, honestly. And there's more definition than what's shown there. So it has a sally port, and it has storage, but it would also include a foster evaluation office. It would include a dog transfer holding area. It would include some other things besides just what's listed here. But this is the area where we would expand, and it's plenty of area for us to do that.
Good.
And then, I don't know, do you want to see would you like to see the site plan? Because that'll also answer a little bit of the question about expansion. And so the expansion area would be in here.
Well, you made the comment there's only 40 kennels, and that's about what you have now. So that's why I was wondering if you needed more kennels or something like that.
Well, we added, I think it's 7 more than we have. 7 more than we have now, right? I believe that's what.
Well, there's those 40, and then there are another.
We have some holding. Inside. So yeah, we felt like that was a pretty firm number.
Sam, how much space, I guess this is for dogs to run? And
Those
play.
are play yards, play areas.
So how much total space?
And actually, some of that is attributed to the kenneling as well.
Once again, how much space is that altogether?
You mean the fencing that you would have to have? Just
You mean around the square footage of the shelter
Yeah.
itself?
Well, in play area, is it an acre, half acre, or altogether? You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different plots of land
Right.
together.
What's
Well, the site is as much as 5 acres. I don't think we're gonna occupy all that, but
That, and you're gonna say that, you said the city is willing to come in and
fencing?
fence all of it off in 5 different tracks like that? Is that what you're saying?
we talked about that before. Now, again, we'd have to establish with
Yeah.
them
Because that's gonna run into some expense.
yeah, the fencing is substantial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why the fencing alone wouldn't probably be too much less than the in-kind that you all would be doing. And ideally, it'd be, 50/50, but I mean, that might be a little hard to get it to that exact kind of a number. But it's enough that it'd be a good in-kind contribution, certainly.
Okay. Squire Muller, you asked for this. Is this okay, what you're seeing here?
Yes. Just during our last meeting, just to bring everybody up to speed, I guess we had our meeting where we talked about this, and one of my questions to Sam, and I appreciate you coming back with it, was kind of a timeline, because, as we've talked about over the years, it's been kind of 5 years since, well before I was on the court, obviously, but wanted some definition as far as how long it was going to take to proceed if they got the funds from start to finish. So that helps a lot. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. So with your permission, I would like to just raise a few points, and I don't normally like read through things, but I want to get this right because this is pretty damn important, part of the language. So I want to start with the things that hopefully we can agree on. Number one, a new shelter is desperately needed. Number two, state law obligates the county to provide for animal control in the facility, and the city's animal control ordinance obligates it as well. Number three, neither you, nor the city, nor the Humane Society want to see an animal control facility run by the city and the county. Hopefully we can agree on that. So what does this mean? It means we need each other. I know you're ready to commit funds, we appreciate that, but I'm asking you to fully fund our request, and I'll tell you why. I have 4 reasons. Number one, the situation's urgent. We're a flood away from inhabitability. It'd make more sense to fund more than we requested than less, so that you can get us into a new facility before it becomes an emergency. You have every incentive to help us as much as possible. We're offering the only plan out there. We've already paid $100,000 for it. Number two, if you leave us additional funding short of our request, and we accept that task, it'll take longer, and it could spill over into a 3rd year before completion. We can guarantee our share in a year if you do your part. But if we have to raise the additional funds, we can't guarantee a year. And at some point, it would likely become more expensive if it took longer. If you're worried about our ability to raise funds, you should actually do more funding instead of making it harder for us. Number three, you've done your jobs for the taxpayers. The plan's been downsized to the minimum acceptable initial level, and the request for taxpayer funds has dropped from $3.2 million to $2 million. This is no more than you would pay on your own for your own animal control facility. But more animals will be saved, and less animals will actually be produced because of spay and neuter, which we do that you wouldn't do with a joint facility. And finally, we're offering a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We're bringing $2 million to the table and a chance to do this properly. There's a lot of talk about public-private partnerships. This is truly a public-private partnership. We know there are a lot of other needs out there. We've seen it. We know that. But how many are offering $2 million in funds like we are? A 50-50 match. And actually for you all, a 50-25 match. Now, it's too bad that this task has been left to this fiscal court. But this has been needed for 20 years. Funds could have been appropriated. Funding now is for a minimum of the next 50 years. Not 8 years, not 10 years, not 12 years, 50 years. Now, what about the city doing more? You had that discussion a little bit earlier. There's a good argument for that. But what if they don't do more? Or even do less because they say, well, the property's worth X amount. We can't be left holding the bag for the difference. That's not going to work. And if you all fully fund our request and the city is willing to do more, we'll be that much closer to starting and to completing the project. What's wrong with that? This is a legacy issue. The future generations will judge what happened here. No one will question how much you spent when the doors to the new facility open. But they'll remember forever if you allow this to linger until a disaster occurs.
So let me ask, make a clarification here. If you got all the money, you're not gonna be in there for 2 years. If we today said, we're going to fully fund you, $1 million, $1 million from the city, $1 million from the county. At the best case scenario, you're still 2 years away from a facility opening up. So you can't really just turn around and say to us that there could be an emergency and it's gone to us, that if something happens on the facility. So I want to make that perfectly clear. We're not there yet, understandable, but you on the very, 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 very best, and that normal very best doesn't normally happen, we're at least 2 years away, because you got to fundraise, and then
We've got a year of fundraising and a year of construction.
That's 2 years.
Right.
So to put it back on our shoulders, saying that it's on us if some, God forbid, a flood would happen, because we don't know. Flood could happen tomorrow, flood could happen next week. So I just want it to be heard that it's not necessarily all on us. It is incumbent upon us to get something worked out so you can build. Everyone agrees with that. So we're working on it. Okay? Now, questions?
Well, it's not a question, it's a comment. It was in 2018, not last year, that I suggested that we float a bond issue for $1 million, and that the Humane Society downsize their plans so that would be acceptable to them. And it was not acceptable to the Humane Society. But they have done this. They have come down because they know the need. And I think that's commendable. And it's not $1 million now, it's 900,000. I went to the trouble to go to CAECO to see what a bond issue would cost. And we have to pay every 6 months on that bond service, debt service on that bond. And we can do that. I think it'll be much less than what it was for 1.3 million, which is what I asked for in 2018. And it was 50,000 every 6 months then. So I'm assuming it will be less. And our bond rating is high. We have a good reputation. So I say, let's go that way. And give them the money, let them get started. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Squire.
All right. comments? Squire Tracy.
Sam, you stated that you got these numbers from your group, as far as your architect and stuff. What happens if you put this out and you start getting bids in and it comes back in high?
If you all make your commitment to us, it's on us, whatever the difference is. It's another reason to do it now, because then you're clear. But it's also another reason to do our request, because, you know, if there's any leeway there, it's on us. And of course, it's also on us to do the expansion that we really need. So anything less than our request makes it that much harder to, you know, to add a Sally Port at some point and things of that nature, which, you know, we really need, but we're gonna live without for the, you know, for the time being.
Well, I appreciate that because the county has a lot of obligations too. And that was very, very nice. Nice is not the word I want to use. Didn't think of it.
Nice is okay, we'll take that.
Okay.
Squire Muller.
I'd like to ask council a question. So how does this work moving forward as far as, you know, our funds, city funds, their funds, and they, you know, our volunteers basically as far as that are doing the service? How does all that look legality-wise from quote-unquote investors?
No idea. The first question is, and it's still being danced with, is whether you're gonna do it. Then once you cross the bridge about whether, then you decide how much you're gonna do it for, and then we work out the most optimal details with reverters or pays back or grants, etc. I don't think that I've heard any presentation, any discussion or anything as to the mechanics once it's approved. So we'll have to cross that bridge when you get to it. If you choose to get to it, and I'm here, we're gonna get to it.
Yes.
So we'll get to it, cross that bridge then.
Okay, because I would definitely like to focus on that. You know, I sat on another board here in town, and the property was given to another community, which I still harbor some ill feelings about tremendously. And you know, when you commit to things like that, you never know what's gonna happen in the future, so we wanna certainly protect the county's investment. And certainly, the county is looking at this as a way to provide health, safety, and necessary things that we have to do per the Constitution. So certainly, we're looking at it from multiple angles. So I would like to just make sure that can continue on should, you know, heaven forbid, something happen to the Humane Society.
Well, there'll have to be a discussion, for example, whether or not you want part ownership on the property, it's city property, whether or not you'd retain some kind of equitable interest over a period of time to earn your investment back, so to speak, whether or not it'd be in the form of some restrictions on future transfers. So many things to cross over
That's the
on
thing
your
about
most
signing the
optimal way of doing it.
rights away, or those things. I think those are also critical for us to keep in the forefront.
No idea. It'd be just sheer conjecture. I mean, I'd just be making up as I went along until you decide how, the money, whatever from that end.
Okay.
And then we can sit down and figure out how to cross that bridge.
But I think it might be, I mean, I'm sorry to
No, go ahead.
jump in, but I think it might be worth noting that at least, you know, because it's the county's obligation to have the facility, if something happened to us, and I mean, something could happen,
Don't bring that up.
well, you know, I mean, you've got to address that, you
You
know.
have to.
But so, I think there is an ownership issue there, and I think that's certainly something that would be worked out and could be worked out.
Okay.
I mean, there's also a naming issue for that matter, you know, depending on what you all decide to do. I think you have a right to some naming opportunity there as well. Hopefully, I'm not speaking out of turn from my board in saying that, but it's certainly a fair issue. But what I was gonna say is, you know, as far as if, you know, God forbid, something happened to us, you know, basically, it's almost by default that you have the facility.
Yeah.
Now, you know, the city will have a say in that with their contribution, but, you know, you're not gonna get another Humane Society, I don't think, to come in here and take over the facility for you. you know, it's gonna be your responsibility, but at least you'll have a new, well, we don't know at what point that would happen, but it'd certainly be a $4 million facility that you invested $1 million in, and you'd have certainly some ownership of it.
Yes.
That's a lot of assumptions that I wasn't willing to make, but.
It's just something I want to keep out in the.
Well, this is gonna be a little bit of a complication because you're talking about a facility owned by a third party on owned by a second party on a third party's property. Fixtures, attachments, this isn't something to tread lightly on.
It's not, but we have
But you
that
gotta
in our
have a starting point.
community
The starting point is to say,
frequently.
I'm going to do that, and for X number of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, frequently we run across that in this community because the
'Cause
city
we
or the
didn't-
county or others have entered into an agreement with the state to build something on state property, and we've invested quite a bit of money, whether it's a county government, city government, to do that. And,
I mean,
in the end,
make it really easy.
there are challenges.
Just merge it and you won't have to worry about it in this town. That's a unique problem. Because this lends itself to uniqueness of one county, one city, and then the state. And so everything you do is gonna be based around three parties.
Yeah. That's our unique situation.
It's our unique blessing.
Okay, are there any other questions? Squire Black.
Your name being said.
When you all were working on your architectural concept, did you bid out for architects?
Oh, yeah, we did an RFP, we had, I believe we had 9 proposals. They were all quality proposals from reputable in-state firms, and each firm, by request, also used a national consultant that was experienced in shelter design, planning, and execution. And, you know, we had actually a fairly easy choice to get to the top 3. We went through an interview process with all 3, and we were, you know, then it became pretty clear for us as to our choice. And I have to say, you know, as partners, they have been, K. Norman Berry, they have been phenomenal. Design Learned is the national component of it. And, you know, they've gone above and beyond anything that we've requested. They've done a lot of pro bono work. They've actually helped us with the marketing that we've developed so far, and they're certainly willing to help us with the marketing going forward. So yeah, we went through a pretty rugged process to select them, and they're a very well-respected in-state firm.
Okay.
Squire?
We spent a lot of time talking about the money part of this. Part of this ask also requires and requests us to provide some in-kind service. And that in-kind service would have to be borne through, I think, primarily the auspices of our road department, whose primary mission, as we all know, is the safety and the maintenance of our roads. So it's going to,
That's true.
you know, there's something we'll unfortunately have to give because they only have a set amount of staff to take on all the tasks that they already have on their plate. And then this will be additional responsibilities to try to come in and meet the timeline. I mean, John, you want to talk to, or, you know, can you speak to that just a little bit
Well, that's
for us
what
about,
the judge
you know,
said.
crews, how that's gonna have to work, and, because that's gonna be a huge responsibility.
I haven't seen the site.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's-
I don't know.
Not easy for him to elaborate when you don't know what we're asking for him to do. Yeah.
But Squire Sebastian, one thing we talked about in the committee meeting that John was there and Susan brought up, and I appreciate it, that the actual definition of in-kind is not materials. It's mostly workers, trucks, things like
Yeah.
that. So it's,
Right,
that's different from.
But the point is the crews, and I think I've
The
mentioned that a
time.
couple of times.
Yeah.
It takes,
Yeah.
it takes skilled people to do all of the tasks that we have in front of us as a county government.
Right.
And their chief responsibility is taking care of the roads in our county, and there are, we're gonna say, you know, 300 miles of those, and we all
Right.
know that roadside maintenance issues, everybody
Yes.
sitting at this table will say they have them and hear from their constituents often. But there are other responsibilities that they have taken on through animal carcass handling, limb and tree removal. I mean, we have a large plate for our road department, and now we're going to layer additional tasks on them. Same hands, same skilled crews, but they're gonna have to pull off of one thing and put those efforts towards something else for X period of time. Again, that's an unknown, as the judge pointed out, unknown.
Well,
So
what did they-
we
yeah.
just want to be very mindful of that going into this, because sometimes it is easier, and we've all done this, to write a check to someone and have them go ahead and take care of all that responsibility, because a lot of the work that falls back on you sometimes is more than you thought you were going to get into.
Well, and let everybody know, in the committee meeting, John did say typically on a project like this, he would have to pull his best personnel together in order to do this, so it would hurt, I guess I could say hurt, the other services as far as how it would flow.
Well, we are making a sacrifice for the Humane Society and the respect.
Well, let's don't lose sight that I believe strongly that this community wants to see a new Humane Society building. So is it gonna be a sacrifice? Yes, but it is a positive sacrifice in making something happen for the animals in our community that desperately need this. So I think we're kinda got this cart way out in front, and the ideas are correct, and I'm not sure we're ready to talk about that when we haven't even talked about how much money we're willing to give or anything along that line. We haven't gotten to the bridge yet to talk about the work across the bridge. So let's get to the bridge part. There have been three, so I'll start it. There have been three proposals on the table. Marty wants the 900,000. The Strategic Planning Committee came up with, actually there are four people. The Strategic Planning Committee recommended 750,000, with one member at 650,000. So now we have 750,000 with zero in, with 50,000. Zero in kind.
No, it's 50.
50,000 in kind,
100.
750,000 with 100,000 in kind, which is asked for, 650,000 with zero in kind, and 1 million, or 900,000 with 100,000 in kind. So we're all over the board here, and so we need to, I don't care if you want to talk about it now, you want to talk about it, continue to talk about it, but before we can cross this bridge, we got to get to the bridge, and we're not there yet.
I personally would like to hear maybe from the other magistrates, because I think this is an issue that's super important to our community, and I don't want to keep kicking the can down the road. We have other things we need to focus on in the future for our community. To me, this is a known. We just need to come to terms with it and figure out how we're going to pay for it and see if we can't agree on something and move forward. So.
And I will say, from the Strategic Planning Committee members, I think everyone on its face realizes that this is an obligation that the county wants to get behind. I don't think there was a person in that room that said, no, we are unwilling. Everybody in the room that day said, we are very willing. We just have to get it out in front of the full court to see where we ultimately land.
Yeah.
Because everybody realizes no one gains by us pushing this down the road. That was very clear from the discussion at the table.
But I want you all to know, and Carrie, and there's some other volunteers here, that we appreciate everything you all do, and don't feel like this is something against you all. We just have everyone else coming to us, and so we have to figure out the best thing for our taxpayers and how we're gonna do all the other projects and road department, and I mean, I can name 20 things right now, so it's, we're not trying to beat you all up, it's just trying to figure the whole puzzle out.
Well, and as I didn't really mention tonight, but I did have it in your packet, there's a potential for 2 budget cycles for you all. So I don't know if you noted that or not, but, and whether that makes a difference, but there is that potential for you.
You're looking for a commitment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is what you want.
Yeah.
Well,
And the only other thing I'll add is, the idea here is to start next spring. Because if we don't start next spring, then you get in, if you move up toward the fall when you start, then you start running into the winter months.
yes.
It actually slows the process that much longer, so that if you start 6 months later, you may end up 9 months to a year later in completion because you
Well-
haven't timed it well.
Yeah, it really isn't one budget cycle, so what we're gonna need to do is get it in July's budget cycle. If you're gonna start in the spring, you're gonna have to have that money. I mean, you,
But we wouldn't complete though until, it wouldn't really complete until you were into a second budget cycle, actually. So, I mean, it's up to, I mean, obviously, if you all are gonna do it, you know, please, whatever, but, I mean, the possibility is there.
I got you. Squire Moore, Squire Blackburn, Squire Tracy, everybody else has kind of been heard from. I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, I want to reiterate what Squire Muller said. You've more than done your legwork on seeking out the best possible architect, your numbers, the needs. That's apparent. The community is all on board for this happening, and it comes down to the number. Just looking at what you have here in front of me, we have a cost of $4 million. You've got 1.1 on hand. If you get $1 million from each, that'd be 3.1. It says on your capital campaign 1.2 to 1.5. So if you had the 3.1, you would only need a capital campaign of 900,000. So what I'm looking at is if you're prepared to raise 1.2 or 1.5, you know, a 650,000 with a 50,000 in kind would put you at a 1.5 capital campaign.
The 1.5 was based on if you only did 750,000, we'd have to raise the extra 300 ourselves.
So the cost is more than 4 million?
No, but if you fund us, if you leave us, you're gonna leave us with a gap that we have to make up if you fund it for less than $1 million. So the capital campaign then would have to be more. And plus, you need to have a little bit of leeway in your campaign. You know, if it's 900,000, if you fully fund us, you know, we're gonna wanna probably at least have a 20% cushion in there just to be safe. You know, you don't want to do the campaign with no margin. But the $300,000 difference is if the funding from you all and the city is 150,000 less than the request, then it's another 300,000 that we have to raise. So that's how you
You're
get.
talking 20%
That's how you
cushion.
get that number.
I got you.
And we don't, you know, in Frankfort, Kentucky, I mean, we feel confident in $1 million. You know, $1 million or approximately $1 million capital campaign, we feel confident in that. But when you get over that, you know,
I understand.
I mean, we really don't know. And again, we don't know how long that's going to take, even if we can do it. And of course, the dollars at the end are a lot harder than the front dollars. You know, that first X amount, you know, you can raise that pretty quickly. But when you start to get past $1 million in Frankfort, Kentucky, and the next $100,000, $200,000, and $300,000,
Okay.
who knows?
I understand.
Oh,
Wait a minute, Squire, let Squire Blackburn continue.
And you know, I want you to know, I know for myself, I've looked at the numbers on every humane society that's been built in the last 5 years in Kentucky. And I've tried, there's some that are 12 million. There's some that are 700,000. And I know based on your need and your blueprint, that's the number that's been coming up. The 4 million. So I've seen a lot of architectural concepts. I've seen, you know, when you have glass facades and three-dimensional laminate surfacing materials and granite and stone and all that. I'm not saying that we don't want a wonderful building.
We're not doing any of that.
Well, on the conceptual plan
In
that I
fact-
saw,
In fact, we're now down to a box. This was the original plan, which had some design detail. We're down to a box now. This is gonna be as simple a design as we can do. And there are no excess materials. There are materials that are there for durability and maintenance. But there are no fancy materials, there are no,
I'm just basing what
There-
I'm saying, Sam, off of the concept that was presented to me in the meetings
Right.
that we were at.
but we're not asking you
I'm all
for
for the
we're
building.
not asking you for $4 million either, we're asking you for one.
I know that, but
And if you build, and again, I have yet to hear anybody say, what's it gonna cost us to build our own facility? Because you know it's gonna be at least $2 million. You know that. We know that.
We built our own facility. You
Nobody's
built-
challenged that figure yet.
Yeah, I agree.
So
just
the
was
point is,
wondering.
why not do this right? Because when you look at other facilities throughout the state, we are the worst in the nation for animal welfare, the worst in the nation.
Not in
And so if you
Franklin
look at a
County.
shelter that's built for $750,000, it's substandard.
I'm
Now,
not saying
that's
you're building
okay,
one
I
for
mean, if that's what you
$750,000.
want, but I don't think that's what our community wants. I don't think that with our 90% live release rate, that you want to go backwards.
I'm just trying to put it all in perspective. And I get it. I really do. I've seen schools built, I've seen 25,000 square foot schools with 25,000 square foot remodel that were 10 million. So we're talking 50,000 square feet with bulk systems in gas, sewer, high-tech equipment included on that. I'm not diminishing what you're all saying. I'm really not. I've been told by people in the community that we want this building, but we don't want it at a cost that's gonna be a better building than what we put our school children in. And I'm not, don't take that wrong, but we need a building that's gonna suit the needs and be able to provide the services at the level that you all want to do it, and I get that. So, we're at a point where we've got, like Mueller said earlier, we've got a ton of stuff that we've gotta pay for, and we've gotta put it all in the same box. And we can't just write checks without backing them up, without having the money. We don't have an endless supply of money. We've got big things coming up. We've lost a ton of occupational tax with all these county folks moving into this new building. We've got increased, our compensation on the end, what we've got to come up that the state systems put us into. We've got to write these checks. And it's what we can afford is what we've got to look at. Not, are we going to leverage ourselves to the hilt to do it? And that's how the people that I've spoken to, that I'm representing, have asked me to come and present to you. So that's where I'm at.
You have a figure.
650 with 50 in kind.
Okay. 650, 50, Squire, Moore, or Tracy, whichever one you want.
I don't see us doing this on this timeline, because we're gonna not even be into our budget session by then, so, that's one concern there.
So wait a minute, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you just said. What
Well-
did you say?
They want us to do this in February. We're not gonna be into our budget sessions at all by then.
But I think what they're asking for is a
Commitment.
commitment from the
I know,
court.
I know, but without
Just-
knowing what we're gonna be, yeah.
I said that earlier.
You said that on $13,000.
I did, I sure did.
This is,
I sure did.
$650 to $900,000.
Sure did.
But yes, we definitely need to do this for just the amounts.
You
You
realize.
want to go out on that limb and say what you feel that amount should be?
No, I don't know what that amount should be.
Squire Tracy?
I guess after learning tonight that the road department supervisor hasn't stepped foot on the site, and going back, I guess, almost 5 years ago and thinking that we already had this done, and then it came down to site plan, I would definitely like for him to to get out there and see what the site work's gonna, where we're gonna be at on that, because if we say 50,000 in kind, when the meter hits 50,000 and you're a third of the way done, where do we go from there? Does that make sense? Does that make
It
sense?
depends on what the overall total is.
So I guess, so what I'm saying though is if the body agreed to do 50,000 in kind, and when our road department got finished with the work and it was ready to go and it totaled out to 220,000 in kind, is that additional money gonna come off the commitment side of the dollar side?
Again, it depends on what your cash contribution is.
What I'm saying is if we were to say, okay, we're giving you $50,000 in kind, at a third of the way, it's totaled up, it's 50,000. When he's finished with the site work, everything's done, and the in kind is ringing up at 220, is that additional money gonna come off of the cash balance that we're gonna owe or that we have committed to?
Well, if you do,
Is what I'm asking.
if you're doing 50 in kind and you're funding our request, that would mean 950 in cash.
And if we
Then
went
we
over
would-
100.
Then I would say we would probably live with that. But if you're doing 650 and 50 in kind, well, first of all, quite honestly, I don't know that we're gonna be able to live with 650. I don't know if that's gonna be acceptable to our board. So that's maybe the first issue. But if it were 650 and 50 in kind and it went to 200, yeah, we probably have a problem.
It's negotiations at this point, guys. Let's go 750 plus 50 and see what the board says. I mean, we gotta do something.
Let's go to 900.
I could live with that.
We could
I mean, I think we need to start somewhere. If not, it's gonna go to the next meeting,
Yeah.
and the next meeting, and the next meeting. I mean, let's
I'm like
just-
you, Squire.
let's just
We've
kinda
beat-
something.
We've beat
I'm
this
hoping
one.
they're not expecting the road department to do all of the site work. Rough it in and let somebody else dig the footers and all that, wouldn't I be assuming right?
No, that's
We're not
not
gonna sit there and do
construction.
all the footer work and all that.
No,
I think footer work would be the
No, I
contractor.
don't think.
I think they're just talking like parking lot.
You're talking about the parking
That's what
lot.
they're saying, yeah, nothing to do with the construction of the building. Yeah.
Yeah, I think footer work may be
Yeah.
beyond the
Yeah,
scope of
yeah.
what,
I
Yeah.
think respectfully that everybody here is making a bunch of assumptions,
Yeah.
and you're, Sam said something, and Sam will load the time he said it, and he said it at about 6:10. He said, "I'll guarantee you." I'm like, "Oh my God, never say that word." Those assumptions are strong, and everyone that you've emphasized are gonna be brought to bear when they actually bid it out and get their design and have it locked in for X number of dollars for a builder. Until that time, it's just a guess game. And Judge said, this is still just crossing a bridge.
Yep.
They ain't even got close on their side to the bridge, frankly, to come here to this body to ask money, et cetera, and all the various contingencies.
So let's do this. Let's come up with a figure. And I think we're really close to a figure. Let's not worry about the in-kind at this point. Let's let John, your all's team go out. Let's look at the facility, the lot, and determine what can be done, what we can do without committing X amount until we know what we can do and would be able to do. So leave the in-kind out at this point, but not say we're not gonna do it, just say if we're unsure about what we can and can't do. Is that fair enough with you, Sam, to give you a start?
Well, so for example, if you said, before you were talking about 750 and 100. So you'd be talking about 850 instead, and you'd say that's gonna include whatever we can do in kind. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
That's not, I don't think we're at that point. I think we're closer to the 750 at this point. And then, but I'm not sure on that either. Squire, we're up and then we're down. We've got two that are willing to go 750. Leave the in-kind out. Two, Michael and myself.
I said I'd do that.
We got 3 that will go 750.
It's like an auction.
It is, it's where, okay, so I can't do all that quick. Well, you go 750 if you can't get your 900. You want to go, will you go 750?
I'll go 750 to just get this thing started. But again, I wanna know what type of
Sure.
pressure
Is that
work.
fair to have them go out and look at it? Is that, will everybody agree that we'll come up with a figure? 750, and we'll work on the in-kind and what we can do, once it's determined on what we can do,
In addition to that.
in addition to that.
Yes,
Can everybody agree to that?
okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, I can be there.
Okay, 750, there's your commitment.
Yep.
Sam?
Are you gonna do it, like, vote on it, or make a resolution?
We'll
or
come
some
back,
commitment,
we'll
or-
come back at our.
Cause none of this counts at all.
Right,
It's
I
just
think
talking
we'll,
about
we
it.
know, we'll have to come
Right.
back and
Okay.
actually put it formally on the
And I
agenda.
kinda wanna hear what John has to say.
I didn't know if you wanted
at
to
that
add
point.
it, or
But I
what was
think
going on that
what-
game.
Where we were going is, I believe, is to let John
Yeah.
go find the site, take a look at the site, so he can come back and inform us just a little bit more, because we haven't decided on the full commitment of the court.
That's right. Well, we've
So-
decided on a figure a commitment
Right.
to get you going. Sam, that's $750,000. And with that, we'll move forward with a resolution, I would assume,
Now, okay.
at some point in time, a resolution with that?
None of this,
Resolution.
the most that you're doing, sort of making a pledge, for lack of a better word at
Okay,
this point.
thank you. I'm
The,
asking
the
you.
phrase commitment means nothing. This discussion means nothing. You're not bound by it in any form or fashion. Even when you pass the budget, allocating certain funds, it means nothing until you actually distribute that grant. If what I'm hearing is a resolution in support to pursue up to X number of dollars, then that would be appropriate in the form of a non-binding resolution. But you're not gonna get to the point when it becomes binding until the money's identified, budgeted, and then a means to draw it down occurs. So
Does
you're
that-
going to you're moving in a direction, but this is still just at the talking about stage until you get to that point, and that point's a long way away when you're finally
So we should
committed.
vote on it now, that's what you're saying?
No.
You can vote on any time. It just it doesn't mean anything. It's just a
Now,
resolution.
But I mean, before April.
I'd bet that the Humane Society would want something in the form of a statement of the body politic as to its intentions and desires moving
And
forward.
can you help us move with
Yeah,
that?
but I just want to be clear, this is all just
That's
talk.
not a commitment though, right? That's what you're saying.
No, it's more like okay, we'll talk about it more.
That's not acceptable.
Well, there's no, until you cross those bridges, there's
Yeah,
nothing, you can't cross the last one.
He's helping us to get to that, okay?
Yeah, this is the first step. Continue to move.
Square Mode,
I think it's important to say that, you know, there are 2 steps for us. One is a board component of this, but the other is the city part of it. Because
That's true.
until we know what the city's gonna do, we don't know if we have a deal.
that's
Okay.
correct.
So,
Sam, you just mentioned a board component. What are you thinking when you say there's a board component to this? That you're gonna go back and share with the
go
board?
back to our board, I mean,
I
we've,
just wanna make
we've,
sure
you know,
I
we've said
understand.
what, you know, we've said
Right,
what
you-
our,
You have
you know,
said
we've
what
said,
your
we've made our
desire
case,
is.
we've said what our
Right.
request is.
And so now
We
we've
think it's
discussed a-
justified, we, you know, again,
So
so,
we've discussed a pledge.
because,
I'm gonna
you know-
use that word, we've discussed a
Good
pledge here.
Okay.
And that's what you were asking for us to
Right.
make that pledge,
But,
and so.
you know, we may have to have the option to build our own facility. I mean, you know, that has to be under discussion. Because, you
Without
know,
our pledge of 750,000? Is that what you're saying?
it, depending on what the city does.
That's what it sounds
Okay. I mean, if you want to go that route, then.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just,
Okay.
that, you know, again, I mean, you know, for us to go from, you know, 2 million to 2.5 million, I mean,
Yes.
we have to think about that.
Sam, can I ask you a question? Since we are talking about in-kind, all that's out there right now is conceptual plans. So would the architects have any kind of square footage for the asphalt parking lot?
They did an
So
estimate.
is that
That's,
something you could maybe,
they did an estimate, which is, that's how we came up with the.
could you get us the actual breakdown though, as far as, so we can look at it, how much asphalt's needed, how much rock's needed, how much, et cetera? Is that possible, or is that?
I think John and Robert can go out there and work with them and look at it. And
We
Okay, I was
can get-
wondering if they had that information, they could share it, if they had it.
Yeah.
We can give you what they recommended as far as, how they determine their estimates as to what.
Anything like that that they might already have, not asking for anything extra, but
Right.
it might help him when he's out in the field.
Sure.
Okay. Counselor,
Yep.
are you comfortable for where we are?
Yeah, totally. I just want to just remind everybody, and I appreciate the need. I see it every day as well. But there has to be a process and a procedure, and be mindful of those steps. And this goes to the Humane Society as well. That has to play out in a certain way. You're not gonna. I mean, you've sat here and heard how many millions of dollars being asked for just today alone, and that process has to play itself out, and you're gonna have to make decisions, and there's a time and place to make those decisions. So in discussions, be very careful when you're pledging, that you're mindful that it is just a pledge at this point, and there's gonna have to be a modicum of faith that everybody acts on, but it's still in discussion and negotiation how to do
You mean
that.
we'll have to wait until we vote on the budget?
At the
Is that
very
what you're
least, ma'am,
saying?
because you could do it now, but I'm sure Susan's shrieking even as I'm about to say this. It would require a budget transfer, you'd get all kinds of things that'll be fun here in the third quarter.
Well, we've got a fire truck that's out
Exactly.
there.
Chief's
We've
sitting there
got-
going, thank goodness I did that.
We're gonna get a bill for an ambulance
Yeah.
that we didn't vote on
So, you
as
know,
well.
it's good to have a number so they can go back and they can discuss it. The city now knows a number. But the final commitment is, you're gonna get to that, but that ain't today.
But it will be when the budget includes that amount and it's voted on. And
Oh, yes, ma'am, at that point, yeah,
approved.
you can do whatever you want to at
Okay.
that point, yes, ma'am.
That will be in April or May.
All right, here is my concern, and Counselor, help me here. My concern is we don't know what the city's gonna commit. So
It's-
before we bring a resolution before us, I think we need the city also to make a commitment. And then we'll have better ground to know where we are.
And the city's gonna
In the
face the
meantime,
same
it's
problem.
not, I asked Robert and John to meet with you and your architects and talk over
Well, look
the
like they
facility,
were the
okay?
architects.
Yes.
Is that fair enough?
Yep.
Is that okay with the court? Fair enough, everybody?
And then if you want, the judge wants to put in a resolution in support up to X number of dollars. There's nothing wrong with that, and then they can go back to their investors, community partners and supporters, and say, we've already got this pledge subject to funding, and then just play it out and be mindful of it when it comes time to budget time, et cetera, how to be looking
Okay,
at
what
that.
is the bridge? Are we at the bridge now?
No, you're probably like the first exit on the, and then you take a right and you gas up, and then you go from there. But at least you're on the right road,
Hey,
so that's a plus.
We're right at the bridge. We're not ready to cross it yet, but we're right at it. So we're a lot closer than we were before, okay? Okay, thanks.
Thank you
Thank
all.
all of you
Thank you,
for being here, supporting the Humane Society. And boy, we're really having fun now. So let's, Brittany, let's talk about,
I'm gonna be short and
some
sweet.
great programs.
Why start that now? Come on.
Well, a lot of my stuff is on this fun board.
Okay, good. We love fun boards.
Okay, so I'm gonna go over, I'm sure you guys saw the article in the State Journal about the litter mapping app. So I'm just kinda gonna go over really brief, about what it is, how to use it, and then what we're hoping to do with the 2020 litter cleanups, the roadside cleanup program. So Bluegrass Green Source and Blair kinda managed to get this together as a way to show different areas in Franklin County that people have actually gone out and picked up litter to kind of show community engagement and things like that. So it's super simple. You get to this page and you can just search Franklin County Bluegrass Green Source litter mapping on Google and it'll pop up.
Say that again.
It's Franklin County and Bluegrass Green Source litter mapping. So you can, it's
Or you go to
super
Blue.
simple.
Oh, you
Yeah.
have to go to their website.
To their website for right now, yes.
So Franklin County doesn't come first. Blue
No,
comes.
because it's hosted on their website.
Yeah, well, that's important to say.
So it's a community engagement tool because what they're hoping to do is kind of expand this program for other counties. So we're another model county for this program. So what it is it's a map, and I mean you can move all around and you can zoom in and things. So right now the only thing that's on this map, you can click this dot, and Franklin Christian Academy, or Frankfurt Christian Academy actually had gone out and the students and teachers picked up trash around the local neighborhood, Hearn Elementary, Speedway, and the Academy. They added a little fun note, and then you can add a picture, and it's really, really simple. What you do is after you go out and you collect some trash, you can log it by going to participate, and you'll continue as a guest. So you can upload a photo of your group, your group with some trash bags and things like that, or just some, I'm touching it with my shirt, sorry. But then you enter your group's name, where you picked up, and how you felt you made a difference today. And then you submit, and it'll pop up on that map.
Okay,
So,
the location. How do you put the location, just in plain English, or do you have
So you can either use the locate me, which will actually, if you allow GPS services on your phone, it'll figure out where you are. Or you can kind of use the map here and it'll find you. You can kind of move, should be able to move this around and kind of figure out.
Let's go to Speedway.
Let's go to Carnival Lane.
Oh, let's go to.
It's not, I can't get it to move.
You can stay in that first district, that's a big place anyway.
No.
Stay right
Fifth
there.
district
Yeah,
better.
there we go. It's right there.
Well,
Number one's number one.
Good job, Judge.
We'll just put Sid for now.
You tried.
The best, I guess the best thing you can do
Is this?
is just enter a good address, a good central address to where you were.
Like, well, let's say, just pick up an address. What's an address on there?
What's your
We
home?
could put,
Franklin County High School.
I think, you could just say like Cardwell Lane or
We could
something.
just say here.
Yeah, let's just say right here.
So, and it's
All right.
thinking,
Address not bad.
well, y'all, it's supposed to be simple.
Come on, Andrew.
Yeah, that's what they always said.
So, there we go. Here we go.
Just loading, be patient.
Yeah, it was over there. And then I moved it. So, and then you just save your location and then you'll add it, you'll agree to the terms and submit. So since we didn't actually do a cleanup yet, I don't wanna add it in there. But, so
Okay,
this is pretty simple.
And when you do something, how does it show up on the map?
So it'll pop up as a,
Dot?
as this dot, yeah. So you can see right here, this blue
That's why I was
ring
saying
circle.
Speedway, because it's already been done.
So that'll pop up and you'll be able to just click on that location and it'll give you a synopsis of what happened there.
Oh, yeah, well, who puts the synopsis in?
The group that did it, the group that did the
It goes to
cleanup.
the picture and everything.
And it goes to the information
Okay,
underneath it.
all right, that
So-
sounds good.
The purpose of bringing this up is that we're going to be opening the litter cleanups for 2020. There were none done in 2019. It was a program that happened a couple years prior every year. So basically what it is, here, let me head back over here. I have a lot of notes. So what it is it's mainly for it's for nonprofits to sign up. We usually have a lot of church groups or student organizations, things like that sign up. And what they can do is they can pick up trash on a designated area of road up to 15 miles. And for every mile that they do, they receive $100 for their organization.
Yeah.
So this year, the signups will open on February 19th at 8 a.m. It's going to be a Google form, and the link is there, and I'll make sure to post the link in a couple different places, and it'll be advertised in the State Journal. So you go to the form that morning. It's going to be open for 12 hours, and like any of these groups can sign up. Once the form is closed, the next couple days I'll be spending the time selecting 10 groups completely random. So since there were no organizations that did it in 2019, it's free game for everybody, because in the past, if you had done it, say if you had done it in 2017, you couldn't participate in 2018. So now, since it wasn't done last year, any nonprofit is open to do this.
So it is limited to 10
organizations
nonprofit organizations.
will be selected, yes.
That can get paid, but the other ones can still do it out of the goodness of their heart.
Right.
You can pick up litter at any point.
Yes.
That's another thing that we'll get into.
It's on
'Cause
Carville Lake, right?
Is there an amount of miles that is gonna be on the table
it's up to 15 miles per
per group?
organization,
It'll be
yeah.
150 miles.
Yeah. What I've seen in the past is that some groups didn't do the full 15 miles. It just kind of depends. I think, you end up on a day, you pick a day, and then, a couple months in advance, and that day comes, and maybe you have a bad weather in the afternoon, so they can't get to everything or something like that.
We've
So,
had student organizations do it, and it's a great thing.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to offering it again this year.
Let's not lose sight that I've asked you to go with Billy Joe, and you all are riding around the county. Identifying
roads that
hot-
really need
we
the
call it
help.
litter spots or whatever, bad spots. And so, I saw the list the other day, and you're adding to it, so make an offer here, so court members.
Yeah.
You all, as you go through your, magisterial districts, you need to find those two. We
Yes.
probably are already on the list, but if not, there you go.
Let us know, because like I said, we're putting together this list.
Listen, not
List of roads that really need the cleanup.
that need litter pickups,
So
yeah.
if there's specific roads in your districts, or if anybody comes to you that, they really think a certain section of road needs cleaned up, please let me or Billy Joe know. We'll get it onto our list. The whole point is we're actually gonna be assigning these road sections. We'll take preference into account, but, we're the ones identifying the areas that really need the
So you
help.
need the list before you select the nonprofit
If you guys,
organizations.
yes, but these signups aren't for another 3 to 4 weeks, or about 3 weeks. So if you could get some roads to me that you really need help with, we'll get it taken care of.
I stopped and picked up trash at night.
Let's see, just a quick point, all safety gear and cleanup gear is provided by solid waste, and we're working on signs with the road department. And another good point to include is that an adult team leader or a chaperone of some sort, especially with student organizations, I'm going to require them to be in contact with me, like at all times, just to make sure things are progressing smoothly, and they are required to be at that cleanup event.
Okay, so they have to put the name in when they apply?
Yeah.
Okay.
So say I've got 25 kids, and we go down 10 miles of road, and we've got 40 bags of trash. What's the next step?
So they would leave the trash in the bags in a, why can't I think of the right word? Please
Pile?
help me. Yeah, in a
Central
nice-
location.
Thank you. In a central location, and the following Monday, Billy Joe would ride out and go collect them.
That's great.
And then we'd
So
pay
if
for
we did
just.
it on a Saturday, it wouldn't sit there for a week. If we did it
No,
on a Tuesday.
no. It would get picked up at least the following Monday or Tuesday.
Wonderful.
Okay, sounds great.
I'm gonna throw it out that the fiscal court should do it together, not to put anybody on the
Okay.
spot. But
Well-
if you wanna lead by example,
So that's something that actually
We
goes
already
into
do.
another thing that the solid waste department put together.
No, she'll appoint it, so nobody can say
We've done
where
that
we're going.
before.
Yeah.
We've all
Yeah.
done it down here, except for
You
you,
don't
Squire.
Yeah, you're-
We do it down around the
already
courthouse all
telling
the time.
Yep.
That's the clean team.
Right.
So that's another thing, and I have shirts for all y'all if you want them.
Getting
Bright
away
yellow.
from the nonprofits.
I'm not saying
The
we
outside
put
of
our
that.
money, we're not doing it for the money, we're doing it as an example.
Absolutely.
We're doing
Or if we did get the money, we'd donate it to,
publicity,
somebody.
that's what you're thinking.
no, not at all.
Some,
I do stuff like this
Okay,
all the
okay,
time.
let's let Brittany finish, okay?
So where I'm hoping to tie these two things in together is that groups that do this, that are awarded these spots for the litter cleanup, utilize this map. And they upload their photos and they
That's a good idea.
show, you know, where they've cleaned up in the county. So we're gonna start using this more. Hopefully, once the warmer weather comes in, we'll start the clean team up again. I've already got a group of youths at the library kind of signed up for a downtown cleanup in April. So we're hoping to spread more
Do you know
information about that
what
too.
date in April, or you got to schedule that in the future?
I think.
You'll let us know.
Yeah,
You'll let us
yeah.
know.
It's an individual event. So the clean team is a totally separate thing.
Well, I know, but I
And-
just wondered if you had a date for it.
I do, but not off the top of my head.
Okay, all right. We're trying to move on, right?
Yeah.
So you have another thing,
I
Joyce.
do. This one should be easy.
Should be?
Okay. So last court meeting, I went over the voucher program. So I'm just gonna do a quick tutorial because we've got just some small updates into it. So a resident looking to get a landfill voucher will go to franklincounty.ky.gov and we'll scroll.
Yes, I don't like that, having to scroll down. That's not a good website presentation.
Well, let's not get there. We're trying to explain,
Just
let the
do that
public
for
hear
later.
about it at this point. And we'll talk about that at another time.
Okay.
So on the right side, we'll click on landfill vouchers. And this will bring you to the landing page for the voucher program. It's got my contact information, so at any point, if you need some help, give me a call. It goes over kind of the terms and conditions and how to utilize the program. And down here, there is a video tutorial, which we will also be updating because these changes are very recent.
Okay.
So we'll click on online vouchers, and this will take you to our login page. It's thinking.
You should just put online vouchers right up there at the beginning. Okay?
We gotta get to them.
Should I click it again?
You got it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we're gonna register as a new user if you've never used the program. And we'll do. You enter a good email that you regularly check. Create a password that has to have a number or a special
You
character.
need to put that on there too.
I think it's
It'll pop up if you don't
Here's your,
put it correctly.
code there, Marty.
upper lowercase special character.
And then we'll hit register.
You doing a great job, Brittany.
You gotta wait for technology, man. I mean, they say it's gonna take over the world, but
That's
pretty
what-
slow.
Give me mine.
Does it look like it?
But yeah.
If I could interject, I just pushed that out live again. I'm the one who puts it together.
Oh.
And the first time you push it out live, it takes a little while to build everything in the background. And the second time you run through it, it's a lot faster.
So thank you for registering. This is an important step. An email sent, you've gotta confirm your email, so we will go to my email that I entered here.
Oh gosh, I got somebody from Bluegrass.
And we will, you'll click in this confirmation email and you'll click here to activate your account. This is the step that I get the most phone calls about, so please check your email. So we'll go home and we'll log back in. Okay. So here we've got the terms and conditions listed again, and at this point we want you to accept them after you read through them and continue. And then here you'll enter your information as it appears on your Franklin County driver's license. So I'm not going to give everyone my address, but we'll put the court's address. Leave it as county. And then we'll hit submit to get you into the system. And this is what you see. So this 4-digit number is your landfill voucher ID. It never expires, valid as long as you're a Franklin County resident. All you need to do is make sure this information matches your driver's license. So then you take this 4-digit number, you don't have to print anything out, this 4-digit number and your license to the scale house at the landfill on a Saturday between 8 and 12, and you're good to go.
4 times.
4 times a year, 4 times per calendar year.
What about dinosaurs like me that don't check their emails? They just come down here and you'll walk them through it?
You can come down here and either Connie or whoever's at reception, Phyllis, they can kind of walk you through it or kind of get you set up. Or if I'm here, I can work with you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's for dinosaurs, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Export goes to what?
I think this is just a print it, which we're not gonna do.
And you have to have a printer?
No. Mm-mm. So
Okay.
you can download this. So export will create a PDF and you can download this
Okay.
to print, but you don't need to. You just need to have that 4-digit number. Okay?
They write that number down, 3.
You won't be able to do it. You gotta have my license.
I know.
All right. Anything else?
All right. Any questions? Brittany, thank you.
Well, I've already been called out twice.
Anything else, Mark?
I think I'll just shut up.
Okay, no other, Brittany, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. And don't forget, if you would, just go over, Brittany, if you would come back to the podium and tell people to, if they have, roads that they're,
Yeah, if you have any
Litter.
roads that you've identified in your neighborhood, please contact your magistrate or contact the court directly, and we will get them on that list.
Just put 6 digits in there.
add our contact information.
Well, you know, we
Our
can't get
con,
the city.
hold on, let Brittany finish.
So you can give us a call at 875-8751, or you can email me directly at bwoodward@franklincountyky.com.
Say that again.
It's bwoodward@franklincountyky.com.
Thank you, Brittany.
Yep, no problem.
Okay. All right. Next items, authorization of approval of minutes from a regular meeting of January the 8th. Are there any questions about that? Next item, Mr. Hancock,
Yes, sir.
we're ready to receive some money, maybe, I don't know. You got some money for us?
I've already given it to Susan. She's out the back door. She's
Out the
gonna
back
keep it
door?
and take off running.
Gosh. Well, how much was it?
I gave her a check for 400,000.
Whew.
So
Thank you.
I'll try to do my part. I don't know if I can get a humane society or whatever out of all this, but I'll try to do my part. Give everything I
Voting
can.
equipment to buy too.
That's right. So, our total right now, that's only a partial payment. Our total payment our total bank book is 457. We'll hold the remainder of the 57 until we get through with our audits. We had budgeted 377, so it's exactly 80,000 favorable to budget, over and beyond what we had budgeted in excess fees.
That's
All in
it.
favor of that?
Yeah.
Any questions? Go ahead.
So, question for Susan. So, where does that money go now?
Lisa.
We have a fund now that is unique for the fee office, for the clerk's fee office. with a budgeted line item, as Jeff said, for excess fees. So that receipt of that $400,000 will, like bring us about $80,000 over budget, is what he said. So that will become a part of that fund balance, okay? And we've had some discussions already about letting that fund balance accumulate in that specific fund and not doing any transfers back to the general fund. So, and that would take court action to do those transfers anyway, so, so that money will accumulate in that fund.
Perfect.
Good.
Thank you.
Mr. Hancock, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay. Judge Barton, welcome. Mr. Hewitt, welcome. We got several people here. Please introduce Brian as we're here. And let's talk about the Project Development Energy Systems Group proposed contract.
Thank you, Judge. Good evening, Court. I'd like to introduce Teresa Barton and Ryan Baker with Energy Systems Group. Back on November 22nd, 2019, this body selected ESG to prepare a energy performance contract for your county facilities. What you have today in your packet in the agenda abstract is a project development agreement, which is the first step towards that contract. This agreement would prepare a detailed engineering evaluation, which will establish energy saving concepts and proposals for your consideration that would be incorporated into the project. With that being said, ESG does have a small presentation they'd like to give you to let you know what the next steps would be in this process.
We promise it'll be fast. Thank you.
To Ryan and let him go through this real quick. He has more of the detail from the technical approach. I'll let you do that.
But introduce Ryan, Judge, if you will.
Yes, Ryan Baker, he is our project developer that will turn into probably project manager, coordinate the project. He's working closely with Lori Seeger, which a couple of our committee members, and thank you all for Squire Blackburn and Squire Tracy and Judge Wells and so many people in this room who've already worked really hard just in a couple of meetings, putting together some approaches, looking at measures. Some things are in, some things are out, looking at feasibility, the things that we need to do in order to get to that next step. And that's kind of where we are now. We're going to start to expend some funds on your behalf to accomplish some tasks that are extremely important to actually get to contract down the road. So that's why we want to kind of give you an update and then explain what this would mean, should you not enter into an agreement somewhere down the road. And I think Ryan's going to
Yep. Thank you very much, Teresa. Judge, as you call her in this office. Again, my name.
Once a judge, always a judge.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. She's the judge when I'm with her too. So, just a background. Again, we have done a lot of work with you guys, and we appreciate all your time that you guys have put in this office, out in the field at the facilities as well. Just a quick background. I know this has kind of been a marathon, so to date, an update. We went through your utilities, meters, by building, through your actual bills, identified meter charges. Just a couple items there with no usage. Identified meters that are oversized for usage. Accurate rate structures, evaluating rebates and other available incentives once we do get into the project and understand what measures are in the project. We can further evaluate the rebates and incentives. Just a little carrot out there. We've identified one account where we can consolidate meters for the county at about $1,250 savings per year. We think that's just the tip of the iceberg on some of those items, so that's great. Those are low-cost items to save you guys some dollars and help fund some other aspects of this project.
You're gonna take out the meters that are oversized
Yeah.
and put another one in?
Yes, ma'am. Right size the meter. Some of the buildings have, one example is a 3-inch water meter, and usage is based on around a 5/8. Again, we need a little bit more detailed evaluation on that to make sure that's an appropriate solution. That $1,250 comes from consolidating some gas meters at the Sheriff's Department when that building was set up for 4 separate meters and then 3 separate meters and then 1 more on the generator itself. So because it's one bill, you do have a minimum charge even on little to no usage, so. Again, through our meetings, we've talked through energy conservation measures as part of what we proposed in our proposal. During the competitive process, vetting the viable measures for payback, quick paybacks, again, LED lighting, HVAC upgrades in some places have quicker payback than others. The jail's a little bit longer. Plumbing upgrades, again, to maximize savings. We've also evaluated for facilities for non-energy saving measures. Critical improvements, seems common theme. Sewer repairs, jail has got some sewer issues, roof. Road garage has got some non-energy saving measures that need to be evaluated. And again, sustainable measures. We think we've got some opportunity for solar as part of this project as well. So just, and I hate saying this, but I know that's an eye chart. What I'm trying to show here is just the top row is measures, and I think we've got a printout in the book of that. Top row is the measures, LED, HVAC retrofits. Again, this is just an all-encompassing view of your facilities and how we're approaching. This has kind of been the framework of how we come to the meetings to discuss measures, such as lighting, road garage, concepts, that kind of thing, what's in, what's out, and this has kind of been our roadmap to date on those discussions.
I was just going to say, this is sort of a living document for those who have been in the meetings, and thank you all again. This is how we vet the measures. We talk through them, we explain what they mean, the savings that would be attached to them as well, or not savings if it's a life safety measure. So again, this is a living document. It'll be changing, probably even at our next meeting, there'll be a different iteration of it. So that's why you actually do not have a copy of it.
Okay.
If at any point you want a copy of any of this, please just reach out to us, or through the judge, through Tampa, however you do it normally. We're happy to share them, but they're preliminary documents, so we just hate to get a whole lot out there that's still being vetted.
You have some highlighted boxes in there.
Yes, I highlighted those from our last meeting. Those were in the minutes. So the road garage, building improvements, that was kind of I guess maybe pushed down the list based on Squire Tracy's email. And then the yellow was confirm that electric to gas conversion at the jail. I think there's a minor opportunity there. Just really vet those. It was just really just me taking notes and it relayed back into this living document.
Have anything to do with priority?
This does not prioritize. This is just really just a list of the facilities. We have gone to task as the jail being priority with the amount of need that it has. It also has the most spend. So to maximize your savings as part of the energy project, the more we can save at the jail, the more projects you guys can do outside of the jail, or improvements that don't bring energy savings. Preliminary project schedule. Again, I've heard this metaphor. We're at the bridge. I'm listening. I sit back here and listen. So we've as Mr. Hewitt mentioned, we've been through a competitive process to get to this point. We're still developing the project scope, and again, this is requiring some more detailed engineering. Again, this will be rolled, project development agreement. Let me just jump slides real quick. The project development agreement that we're asking for will again provide the basis of the scope of the project. It's an obligation on both parties. It outlines what we owe you as part of that fee. And again, that fee is only recouped if we don't go forward with an energy savings project. So following information, digital facility plans for the regional jail, sewer and a water analysis for the jail due to their issues that they're having. We need further development on that aspect to make sure that the solutions that we're recommending will work with the conditions, and if they won't work, what can we do to improve those conditions to make them work? The following, and then again, the evaluation of jail feasibility as a whole. That's kind of an all-encompassing overview of the jail. And then also taking a look at the road department, what we can do to help facilitate that location and or other location to better fit the road department's needs for their facility. And again, any other capital projects, we left that in there. I think there is some discussion on and off of other small projects. So again, that'll be included in this PDA fee as well. So just a quick update, kind of what we're talking about when we say sewer and water analysis. So that's the tunnel of the jail. We have some very degraded cast iron. Our measures reduce water flow to save water. You save water, you save sewer costs. So, but unfortunately, they're dealing with some sewer issues, some collapsed sewers, some sewers that are backing up. So what this analysis will do, we'll go through there and detail that, identify what needs to be corrected as part of our project, and again, what can be repaired in place to make sure our measures work for you guys into the future. A couple pictures on the right. That's the pneumatic controls for the air handler. That's how they're controlling space. Not a real efficient way to manage temperature and comfort in the space, humidity for that matter. Roofing on the front entrance is pooling, ponding because of drainage issues up there on the roof. So we're gonna, again, this is just to show you, detail out our kind of the overall goal of the feasibility study. So, and then the heating boilers and air handlers down in the mechanic room, the basement, you know, obviously past their life expectancy. Oh, I'm past one. Sorry, I double clicked. Again, just a couple more measures. LED lighting on the left, laundry, you know, newer facilities, adding some technologies to reduce your hot water load to your laundry. That's the back side of a flush valve inside of the cell. Upgrading those to better handle tampering and also reduce water flow. And then on the right, that's just a picture of what we did at the Warren County jail. Again, while we're in there doing work, they had some issues with chipping and cracking. It was more of a life safety issue where they were using some of the product from the walls as weapons, you know, things to kind of, so, and they just had some deterioration. So that epoxy coating solved two issues for them. Again, while we had the inmates out, that was done. They made the decision that that was, you know, worthwhile, non-energy saving measure on their project. So, again, the feasibility of the jail, the goal is there in the bullets. Assessing the county jail, we have a pretty good idea on where we're at right now. Doing some further data gathering and making sure we're looking at all the data from population data, population trends, talking with the jailer, talking with maintenance, understanding, you know, complete understanding from the energy side perspective, and then that will help us develop the recommendations. We don't want to do that in a vacuum. We want buy-in from everyone that has to live and breathe in that facility, and then come to some final conclusions that'll develop the scope of work for the jail. And as I mentioned, that's the bulk of our energy savings. So this is really the bulk of where our efforts are going. Oh, yes, sir.
I think this is very important as our community hears this presentation, and you've worked with Jailer Bonner on the fact that we can move prisoners around and we don't have to shut the jail down.
Yes, sir.
This kind of work can be done while we're still housing prisoners.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I want to commend you on that, because we didn't have a plan B. If we had to do a plan B, we were going to be in trouble. And you assured us that you can get this kind of work done, which is major infrastructure work on this building. while prisoners are still being housed.
Yes,
It'll
sir.
take a tremendous amount of coordination and communication, and we know that, Jailer Monte is ready to do that. He stands ready, he's extremely professional, has a great staff, and they understand the magnitude of this as well, the problems that you're facing at the jail. But that's what we hope we can deliver to you, once we get to this next step, and then we can present something to you that we know is real, that is defined. So that's really what we're after, to try to get to that next step.
Just another aspect of this early feasibility is we do not want to put in a energy saving measure that will outlive the facility that it resides in. So in a very nice way, we don't want to put money in this project into a facility that you guys won't own or operate in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years.
At the road department.
At the road department, yes. So what we're doing is taking a step back and doing an in-depth analysis at the road department, understanding the needs that John has there, what he doesn't have currently, what we can do to help facilitate that as part of this project or partially part of this project, and just give you guys some recommendations and let you guys, obviously make the decision as far as what scope of work works out there. They don't spend a tremendous amount on energy, but they also are in need of some upgraded facilities to do the work that they're doing. So again, that's just going to help facilitate some questions with some answers, or some answers with some questions. So, yes.
Does cleaning have anything to do with your plans? I mean, like taking residue,
No.
toxic residue away?
No. Toxic residue that you may have stored?
No.
Oh.
In the maintenance area of the
Yes.
road department?
Yes, if our measures involve any hazardous materials, those would be handled properly to put in, new
You will
lighting, new
take them
HVAC.
away on the walls, the floor?
We'll
all that
identify, Squire, sorry to interrupt, we'll identify what we know. If some testing is required, we'll have to evaluate that. But absolutely, everything is handled properly. None of us can afford not to. So that's where some recommendations will come. This is more of a concept plan
I
for
just want
the
you to
road.
keep that in mind.
Okay,
Oh, absolutely.
thank you. Yes, sir.
The work that you've touched on doing at the road department,
Yes, sir.
does that fall under the scope of the energy savings project?
The energy measures that we proposed to date do. The lighting, the HVAC, the feasibility would be more so about a newer facility or a consolidation of facilities into a new facility. So that's where that aspect is really going on the concept side. Getting ideas from the road department and the team on what works, what's not working, salt storage, what they don't have, turnaround radiuses, security, those kind of items is what we're really gonna kind of start scratching the surface with on the road.
And to fall back and touch on the email, that's the reason I asked that is because obviously we don't know if we own the property.
Right.
We own
Right.
some, but we don't know how much.
Right.
And if we were to move or build a new facility, I would think that it would be energy efficient anyway. I mean, I would think we would build an energy efficient,
Right.
facility. So that's the reason I asked.
Understood, yeah, and I understood your email, yeah.
Okay.
That, I didn't, yeah, no, we're on the same page. Again, there are energy measures that we've identified through our proposal in these facilities. Again, it's the life, that we've got to evaluate as a team of what, an LED's life can outstand that, the barn, then we don't want to go that route. So unless we can move something. Teresa, I don't, you know,
Yeah,
if you
I'm just
want.
gonna touch on this real quick. You know, at the park, we talked, one of the ideas that we discussed at the last meeting, and Scar Tracy and Scar Blackburn, please, Judge Wells, chime in if there's something we're missing, but we talked just briefly about LED and the difference it makes in parks. Earlier, I heard you talk about turf fields. There are a lot of things that help with improving facilities, the usage, bringing in, you know, tournaments and a lot of other things. I just wanted to show you what we did at Warren County. Just thought it was significant for you to see. On the left, of course, are the high-pressure sodium, I guess, from the before. That's just one field. And then what we did at Basil Griffin, the 4 on the right. So that's something we did for Warren County. I realize we're not quite Warren County, but just the difference. I just wanted you to kind of see that because those are things we've been talking about, the difference it makes in usability of facilities. So. Barton Field would look really good with those LEDs all around, Charlie. But that's really, it was just an afterthought. We just wanted you to kind of see. It was a great photo that it, you know, really exhibited what we did there.
While saving money with more efficient lights.
Yeah, exactly. So that is it on the project development agreement. You know, I think the abstract was very well written. It explains what happens should you choose to not move forward. We're starting to expend real dollars on studies, evaluation, third party, and we wanted to make sure that should you choose to not move forward at some point, that to I guess recognize that we're spending real money at this point. We would roll that into the project should you move forward with the performance contract, be part of that development. But should you walk away, the fee, I believe, is $48,500 for all the items that we're going to be doing up to contract. So that's for consideration.
Okay, so we are expected to evaluate that once you give us a updated spreadsheet sort of thing.
Absolutely.
What you call that?
The matrix, ECM, Energy Conservation Measure Matrix.
Matrix, yes. Okay.
He'll change those colors for you, Mark.
Well, you just leave them out. They don't.
Yeah, that's what he's gonna do.
You have a lot more detail about the measures that we're recommending. It's gonna require a lot of input also. Our meetings, I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but most everyone in this room, you know, are at these meetings. You know, we have the pleasure of having some fiscal court members who are very valuable to the input, looking at what needs to be and what doesn't, of course, based on our expertise from the energy efficiency side.
Yeah.
But also from the realistic side as well, and what the fiscal court considers to be priorities. So it's a pretty lively meeting each time, so I really appreciate your
Your
time.
priorities are right in the jail and the road department. I agree with you there.
We're making progress.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
I was gonna ask Jeremy, what are your thoughts on just kind of what they're proposing?
Well, I mean, the studies have to be done, the work's gonna have to be done, especially the jail. You know, they gotta do a lot of testing, you know, to find out how deep the work's gotta be done, you know, to even price the job. So, I mean, gotta be done, you know, now or later.
Well, I think the total savings is about 70% at the jail, or that's projected savings.
Yeah.
Or,
60%.
Yeah, 60, 70, I
Yeah.
think it was all over the map. I think it's
Well,
about
it's sort of
closer
what's
to
in, what's
70,
out,
yeah.
unmeasured.
So, I know the majority of this project is gonna be up there. Again, when it comes to the road department, there's a lot of ifs and what ifs and, and things of that nature. The other day, we had a park committee meeting, and we touched on lights. The park director's actually working with the city right now in regards to an agreement that we have in place with them, and trying to get the other 2 softball fields lit. We had a professional here from
Must-go lighting.
yeah,
Must-go sports lighting.
and was informed that there wasn't a lot of energy savings in.
There's not.
Yeah, so.
Yep.
Obviously, like I said, Charlie's got some discussions going on with him, so.
Run hours are the issue.
Yeah, you gotta use them.
That's right.
If they don't burn, you can't.
So.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I've got a question about or several probably, about the project development agreement. I was surprised when I saw capital projects listed as a component of that. Can you all talk a little bit about the extent of what capital projects means? Because when I referred back to the RFP, It talked about comprehensive building management, which, as you all know, deals with building control systems being put in place. It deals with energy services, including performance of energy audits, design, selection, and installation of energy efficient systems, renewable energy options, and training to ensure that those meet the energy savings goal, I think. But nowhere in here did I see capital projects, so I'm not sure capital projects is listed now as part of this agreement when the RFP went out only for energy savings. So I just want to understand how the scope has shifted. Marty's word.
Okay, Squire, really the only reason that is in there is because it's to be determined, if any. For the jail feasibility, there's been a lot of discussion in our meetings and other meetings that would it be feasible to add a pod? Does it make sense? Well, that would become a capital project should you decide to move in that direction. So because to be determined, if any, it's very obviously very vague, but we didn't want to just say, we're only gonna look at your energy efficiency projects when a feasibility states that, oh, if you were to add a pod and so many beds, that would make more sense than building a new facility. So we're just really putting it in there for the evaluation piece to see if it makes sense. And if it doesn't, just like the road department, if you were to tear down everything there, you're gonna still get some energy savings from what you were spending and some operational cost savings, but you could still do a capital project should you choose to. So it's really more of a if any, if you decide down the road.
Does that mean you're gonna spend real dollars on another study then?
Well, we're looking at a concept plan, so the road department's not exactly what I would consider a study. It's more of a concept,
I'm
looking
talking
at
about the
what
jail.
the jail?
Uh-huh.
It's more of a feasibility. We're looking at your
Yeah.
numbers, we're looking at, are they viable, or do you have the right equipment? If you were to do another pod, do you have enough laundry, do you have enough cafeteria and kitchen equipment? You know, is there anything that needs to be relocated to make it more efficient, operate better? So there are a lot of things that we're still going to evaluate.
Yeah, does that take a study though?
Yes,
That you're gonna spend real money on?
yes.
But with that clause in there, if we decided to tear down and build a new road department, would we be obligated to pay you for
No.
our savings on utilities?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, you're not paying us for any savings ever. You're only paying us for the work that we're doing. You capture all the savings to pay your debt service or to capture it for yourself.
But when I looked at section 4, it made me wonder something along the same lines, because it says something about section 4 prohibits the solicitation, review, or consideration of proposals for items listed in 1. So if we decide to build a road department building, section 4 says we can't really do that. I just want to make sure I'm understanding how these
Sure.
sections cross-reference based on what is in 1.
Well, that is to be determined at any, so if you determine that you're not gonna do anything else in capital, that's determined by the fiscal court. And then that would be exempt, that would not be included in section 4.
And that came as
I would-
part of your
I think
meeting
that needs to be taken out.
with the committees that are part of
Absolutely.
this
The
fiscal court.
recommendation comes back that yes, you want to include it, then of course it's included. If you say, no, we're not interested in doing, you know, I think Squire Tracy mentioned, you know, that may be a completely separate issue because we still have hurdles to jump at the road department.
Well, and I think that
Make sense,
language,
Squire?
yeah, that language is in there, you know, if we go through, and again, this captures,
Give them an
you know, a portion of the expenditures that are gonna be, you know, expended by ESG, third party. It really doesn't capture, you know, ESG man hours. So what that really does is protect us from sitting a proposal on your desk and you guys saying, okay, thanks. And then, you know, we'll piece these out one at a time and doing
Sure.
them individually. So that's,
But so maybe that we don't get in that conflict, maybe this item D of 1 needs to come out, capital project, so we don't even, to use the phrase everybody's using, cross that bridge.
Okay.
Because it seems like a precipitous bridge to me. We could walk that line very carefully and then have section 4, unfortunately, that we would fall, you know, prey to. And I don't think you all want that either.
No, and as I say, this
would
is the evaluation.
Just remind the court that you're reading section 4 very narrowly, it doesn't say what you think it says. It has a period of 45 days after receipt for those things to be considered. It doesn't say you can't do it later. It says you can't do it in a different way. It just says for that time period to protect their not their work product per se, but the investment that they've made against the 48.5, that you won't go out and cut them underneath if you go that route during that 45-day only period. So it's not a bar as written. It's just a cooling off period after it's presented. You just have to chill for 45 days before you go in a different direction, or you have to use their services to come up with the other
Yeah, but we're
contractors.
gonna pay for that study.
Yeah, because that's how they're going to make their money. I mean, they're either going to get the cash money if you don't go with the agreements with other persons, because they're not really,
Yeah.
this is going to sound
Oh,
bad worse. I mean, if they're not
yeah.
doing
One thing
anything,
too.
they're just identifying things to be done, and then you go out and find the doers.
I just wanted to support her in that.
And can I ask a question about section 6, where it has kind of that nebulous wording that any kind of litigious situation will be settled in a court of competent jurisdiction in
Yeah, that's my word.
Kentucky?
Yeah, because the incompetent ones, we don't do those anymore.
Yeah, well, can we make
No.
that Franklin Circuit?
No.
Why can we not?
2 reasons. Number one, it's going to be default by Franklin Circuit anyway, because that's where the work has. This started off being an arbitration agreement, which I will never recommend that you do it without telling you not to. And that was my word, that it would be the competent jurisdiction, which is Franklin Circuit, because that's where it's all occurring. Competent jurisdiction means one that has jurisdiction over the parties. In
It's
this
a
case,
legal
it's Franklin
term.
Circuit Court, so that was my
So
word.
that's
to
just
put
a
it
better
in.
legal phrasing than specifically stating Franklin Circuit? I'm just asking,
I thought so when I asked to put it in there, yes, ma'am.
so that we all understand it's Franklin Circuit.
It will be, yes, ma'am. And again, there was a mandatory arbitration clause, there were some other things that I did not want the court, and I would not recommend to the court to waive their litigation rights in the event of the dispute.
Absolutely.
So there's no mandatory arbitration now, thank you, Teresa. They took care of that promptly, and then we all recognize that venue and situs would lie in Franklin Circuit Court.
Okay. What happens if this timeline that's in 4 falls behind? What happens then? Because there's a pretty structured
Right,
timeline.
yes, it absolutely is. We tried to keep the months a little, taking it down to 95% in April as opposed to giving specific days, so we can stay within that time frame. I think if for some reason we get delayed for what it's because of us or because of you, I think we could absolutely come back and ask for an amendment. We thought it was important to go ahead and show you our commitment to provide you with a work product, as opposed to leaving that open-ended.
First of all, it says estimated,
Yes,
estimated,
it does.
so that's not
Sure,
hard and
but
fast.
everybody's trying to adhere to the timelines as best as we can, I think.
There's
So we
no-
just want
there
to see
was-
if it, gets way behind.
Sure,
What do we do?
There was no penalty provisions in there, ma'am.
Yeah, I didn't see any.
Nope.
I didn't
They-
see any,
They
but-
stuck with the estimate because of the vagaries, and that's why they used, I don't know, some kind of interesting language about everybody diligently, good faith cooperation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it is just an estimate. Your remedy, if you get far behind, is to declare it void for breach because they didn't do that. Then they'll say you didn't provide the information, and then we end up in a court of competent jurisdiction, i.e.
Which is Franklin
Court.
Circuit.
Yes, ma'am, that's right. So we take the big circle around.
Squire?
Judge, I would ask, I guess the Energy Committee is yourself, Squire Tracy and Squire Blackburn. Anything you can tell us as far as the process and where we are right now?
Well, we talked, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We've talked very broadly in the beginning, and they're starting to narrow things down more as to where they know obvious savings that they've had on past projects. They've done several jails in the past where they can capture the savings. The biggest takeoff for me is it's guaranteed savings, period. And if we don't save money, they write us a check for the amount that they said we were gonna save. So it pays for itself but through the savings. I think it's a win-win. But we just need to make sure that we all agree moving forward where we wanna do it.
I'm gonna go back to section 4 with estimated implementation timeline. I had a little bit concerned this might be a little quick, that I'm not sure we as a governing body are ready to move that quick. I don't know. And if we are, we are, and if we aren't, what happens if we aren't? And that's why you go back to, this is an estimated time, and there's some workability as when things come up. So, it's all gonna work out. But to piggyback on what Squire Blackman said, we're going to have to do something, and especially at the jail. This is a golden opportunity that many, many counties, local governments, schools are looking at this and saying, hey, this thing works. And so, as you asked Jeremy Colston, and I look at Jeremy to tell me, okay, Jeremy, when you say something needs to go this way, because Jeremy looks at it as from the absolute, where, okay, we gotta do this, or we don't have to do this. He'll tell you if we don't have to do it. And Jeremy fully agrees that we've gotta get something done, and this is the way to get something done, to get this done and paid for in the best means. So, this is a great project. This is absolutely a great thing for our community, especially our jail.
I guess my only hesitation is the road department concept, because there is still real estate lingering out there. I mean, I don't know how we would even dream about thinking about concepts.
Well, wouldn't we, okay, that's great, because we talked about that in the meeting. And they said there's no cost, no additional cost in them doing a conceptual part of it. There was no additional cost, because Jay, myself, and Scotty said, well, whoa, because the very first question was, what's your timeline? And we said, we don't know what the timeline is, and we're not even sure about the property, but this is where we are. We're right up front with them about it, and they said, well, what we're proposing is just a conceptual design at no cost. Suddenly our ears and our minds changed and said, well, okay, if that's where you want to go. And isn't that correct how we talked about it?
That's correct.
And say, okay, at no cost to us, there's a conceptual design on that property.
And we feel that conceptual design would be transferable should you move that property, road
That's
garage
right, you
to
did say
another
that.
property. So
Mhm.
that's, and we're looking to partner with you guys on this project. So Squire Blackburn hit it on the nail. This is a guaranteed energy savings project. So for 12 years, 15 years, whatever that term of energy savings is, you know, we're partners in that. You know, our measurement verification, we come in, we verify the savings are being realized, give you a report. Unfortunately, I have to see Teresa walking around town, but, you know, that's, so, you know, we're here to partner with you. This is not just a normal construction process, I guess
Okay.
that's what I'm trying to say.
All right. Yeah, I still
We don't
have a
like
little
capital thing.
trouble with that. But let me ask you this about section 7, and I just wanted to understand it, because it looks like that becomes a rolling calendar. The 36 months is a rolling calendar. Can you all explain that just a little bit? I just want to, like, in concept, where it may have worked, where you may have applied that to another community that you've worked with, so we can understand in real terms how that works, that rolling calendar.
I'd have to read it again, Squire, and let me tell you one thing. We don't do performance contracting to enter into project development agreements. We do performance contracting, energy efficiency improvements in facilities. It is not our goal to have an agreement and walk away. What we'd like to do is improvements to the facilities. Unfortunately, I haven't read that in like 3 days. I have to read it again to actually get the detail. Maybe Mr. Sparks could help us
You
here.
want a copy of it?
But our
right
goal,
now?
I have it.
Okay.
No, it's hard to talk, read, and comprehend and regurgitate. You know, our goal is to provide you with a proposal that is a feasible, viable project that will fix many of the critical items that you're facing currently. And I think most of us know what those are without publicly explaining a lot of these things. Not everything may have a paid for from savings attached to it. You know, we show the epoxy floor for one. That's a decision. That's gonna come down to, is it worth doing for safety measure, or is it something that you wanna do on your own? Is it something that we don't consider, or you pay for it within the project? So that's what we're after, is to do the best project we can for you that accomplishes the most within these facilities that have, I don't wanna use the word, neglected, over time. I'm guilty, but that have not been addressed over time that need fixing now. Not just from the efficient standpoint, but their past life cycle. You're going to have a catastrophic failure in some areas. It needs to be addressed. As opposed to the agreement expiration, the 36 months.
That's what I was just gonna hit on. Is it on the first paragraph or is it in the second?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand that rolling
So,
concept.
Sure.
Because it seems that if, and I just want to make sure I understand it, because if you start a new element of a project, does the clock start again? I just want to kind of understand, like you used the example of Basil Griffin Park there in Bowling Green. You may have had several things going on there in Warren County. You know, so to use a real world example of how this rolling clock impacts the life cycle of the project.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand that,
absolutely.
okay?
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to understand.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and again, the three occurrences at the top, you know, an execution of a performance-based contract, the 36 months following the latest day of execution, and then the parties written and mutual to terminate. So then I think if we use this PDA to go into another phase of a feasibility, you know, pick for animal shelter. We'll go back. You know, if we use that,
That's not.
if we use that.
Ryan, you're doing good until then,
Let's
buddy.
think of something that's on the table. for the road
Understood.
department.
No.
Wrong bridge.
Road department, I'm backing up. So, you know, just use that and say, okay, we don't want to do anything there. That's fine. We go forward, put together a performance-based contract, 6 months, 9 months, you guys figure out that property's all yours. Clean as, you know, tear it down, show us what that model looks like. I think that just gives us some time to accomplish that task in that 36 rolling. I promise you, we never had a PDA that's run 36 months and then we renewed for another 36 months. As Teresa said, that's not a business model we want. We want to put together a project for you guys, go to contract, start saving you guys energy. So that's about the best explanation I can give you on that 36-month rolling.
And we don't do change orders, just so you'll know. You hear a lot about that on you know, senior construction.
Yes.
If you come to us and we're, just like at Warren County, they're asking us probably to do more work. We've done about 5.7 million. We're probably about 90% complete on that project. They're asking us, now that we've been there for a year and a half, or over a year, I guess, they're asking us, there's some other things we'd like to look at. We're of course gonna do that for them. And then they can make the decision if they want to add that to the project or not, because they still have additional bonding, up to 7 million. I guess I could say all that publicly, at Warren County. And Judge Buchanan is considering that way he can get it done, accomplished, and he understands how we work and how we operate.
Mr. Grandmother?
So from here, hypothetically, this passes tonight. I'm not holding anybody to anything. What does the process look like? So you'll come back with some figures. Do you actually have construction people? Does every piece of the project go out for individual RFPs? Like, let's say lights at the park or the jail or plumbing, electric. Is it all just different RFPs? Or is it just your company that actually does the work? Or what does that look like?
So, go ahead.
Well, you're the project, he's done this
So-
over and over again. I can explain it, he's done it.
We put some competitive bidding out as far as what we've done to date to give you guys the figures on savings and pricing to date. And then at that point, we're gonna come back, develop this final scope, and then we'll go back for final pricing, re-engage folks. Again, when this process gets through to contract, you know, those quotes may or may not have expired. We have our own internal lighting team. ESG has its own internal lighting team, specialty type contracts, washers, dryers, ballpark lighting. You know, we will have subcontractors on site that we will manage through myself, through construction managers. So we'll do that internally. You know, evaluate bids depending on how many ECMs we end up. You know, specialty. we'll handle that competitive process internally, give you guys a price and savings, and that's, that's contract grade. And then at that point, as Teresa mentioned, that's where we go into no change orders. We find something at the park that's, outside scope of work. We found 2 extra lights, that's on ESG. We're gonna, we found 2 more barn lights. We're gonna change those to LED, that's, so those are the items that you guys are kind of protected from.
Well, and
as
the
part
reason
of
I
our
say
audit.
that, if there's an opportunity for local businesses
Absolutely.
to bid work with you, or local lumber companies, or plumbers
Absolutely.
and stuff like that, I would just want to make sure
So our
that's
internal,
encouraged.
yes, sir, and our internal lighting team does that. They will bid the labor side of typically, as they, again, we're located, our corporate office is in Evansville, but that, that doesn't really dictate where our team's at. So, a lot of labor forces are local. We're engaging local folks to do this plumbing and water analysis. So again, experts, people that know facilities in the area, people that, know how Franklin County works, helps, a lot too, besides Teresa. So that is a very strong, and we put that into our presentation as well. We want to put as much of this money back into the local government as possible.
And Squire, real quick, when you did the RFP for the introducing contracting, you actually met the procurement requirements for 45A to actually procure the service. And then what we'll do is make sure we get competitive quotes in bidding. And as you mentioned, within our presentation, our #1 goal was to stay local.
Okay.
That's always our goal. I think 80%, 85% of what we did and the reason I talk about Bourne, it was the most recent one. McCracken was probably
95
local.
probably.
We always try to stay local. I think that's an important part of how we operate, keeping folks local who understand and also can be there, to help with those warranty
Make us look
issues.
good too.
Warranty, service,
Yep.
maintenance,
Absolutely.
those folks are local. I know Chairman and folks at the jail were like, you all had a particular company that you all dealt with a lot of your service, and then they were gonna be in on it.
Right. We always make sure they have an opportunity. Again, it's the follow-up, it's the service, it's the
Still
things,
bid prices, yeah.
tax base, economic impact.
Squire, Tracy?
I'd just like to see if Robert's got anything to add. You've been with it from step 1, I guess.
Thank you. I walked every facility with all the companies that proposed this project and more time even with ESG. And I want to thank the Energy Committee for all the time they put in. I believe that we all went into this somewhat speculating, how does this really work? And Judge Wells made sure that we spent ample time reviewing and understanding the procurement process, how the projects work, the guarantees, and measurement and verification. So over that amount of time, we spent, I don't know, 6-8 months, they sold me on it, okay? I understand now how it is a win-win, and Squire Blackburn hit the nail on the head when he described it earlier. That's exactly how it is. This job will pay for itself through these energy savings. What I learned most is how sensitive our facilities are if a major system goes down. The jail is a prime example. It's a 24-hour operation, and I've seen every nook and cranny of that facility, and it's time to give it some attention.
You went in the
So,
basement, huh?
I've been to the tunnel, and so.
It's a short basement.
Yes. So, I believe that this project, if we focus, as our main priority, focus on the jail, we can extend the life of that facility and keep it viable for much less than what it would cost to construct a new facility. And I think that's being a good steward of the taxpayers' money. And so I'm excited about the project. I'm excited about ESG and the team and their presentation and what they presented to the committee, and I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great project, and I fully support it.
Okay, one more question.
Well, I kind of got 2.
Or two
And
more
I would
questions.
like to ask about grants, moving forward down the road, because I know there's going to be some big ticket items. Is there anything out there? And then I'll go to Susan to say, even how would we pay the 48.5 because it's not in the budget?
I think there are some grants available through DLG, of which we have already received one of the first energy grants through the state. that paid for the previous energy study that we had done. Of course, we'd always be on the lookout for grants that would help pay for any part of equipment or, something. It would be an advantage if we could get one, but I wouldn't go into it planning a certain percentage of the project to be paid for with grants, because it will be whatever's available, and if we're lucky enough to get any part of that. And I'm sure Teresa's already sent me some information, just because I saw this and I thought of you guys, and so I know that it will be an ongoing collaborative relationship to help us do this in the most efficient way possible.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, if y'all don't mind, and I'm sorry, Ann, you were talking, so I didn't stop you. If you're gonna speak, if you're called upon to speak, if you'll come up, because the microphones are not picking you up. So if you don't mind to take a step forward. Too late, Ann, but you may be back up again. Okay. All right.
If I might add, there was an energy efficiency grant through, is Drake still here? Through the Department for Local Government, and unfortunately, they only had about $300,000. They allocated it, I think, to maybe 4 or 5 communities, some very small. Woodford County may have gotten, and I actually helped them write theirs, and they got $68,000. And I keep my eyes peeled constantly, because this is our world. If I see anything at all, we're always on the look. We will absolutely seek any incentives, rebates, anything else that we can, because it's what we do. But we'll keep our eyes open. If you see something, please bring it to our attention, because we don't see everything, but we certainly make sure we keep our eyes peeled. And thank you, Ann.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, great presentation. We'll be going to vote on the contract in,
Okay.
well, we're only halfway through, so I don't know how much longer that's gonna be.
Susan, I'd still like to ask you, because this money's not in the budget.
But it was my understanding you only pay the 48.5
If you don't.
enter into a contract.
Right.
So you still
Right.
have.
If we enter a contract, we're not
you still
paying
haven't crossed that
45.
bridge yet.
Okay, I'm just wanting to make sure.
Yeah.
The court will be called upon to execute, once these things are identified, a performance-based contract. The 48.5 kicks in if they don't do it timely, if they don't complete it, or if the court determines that maybe this isn't the direction we're going to go a different direction. So you're paying to know, not for them to do something.
Right.
I mean, they're going to do something
Right.
in terms
No,
of
I know.
evaluate, but it's not.
They're doing homework.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing planning.
Okay.
Reconnaissance.
All right, next item. This is a resolution permitting a credit of 1/2% occupational tax license fee for new employees as part of an economic development project by Nashida Art Specialty Composite America under the Kentucky Business Investment Program. Ms. Terry Bradshaw, can you speak to this, please? And Susan and Terry?
I don't have anything to say unless you need to ask me questions. I think the resolution.
Squire Blackburn had a great question, and that was the number. Susan, do you have the number of these projects that we've done in Franklin County?
The audit presentation, last court, if you still have your copy of that publication, you can see the listing of all the tax abatement projects that we have entered into.
So what are the numbers, just because we don't have it in front of us?
Six of them, they're all listed in our audit.
Right.
Okay.
I saw that, but on this particular one, it's saying 5%, 0.5% on occupational tax on 30, on the basis of creating 30 jobs. So it doesn't come into effect until there's 30 jobs?
Correct.
And who keeps track of how many people they got, how many employees they got?
Susan,
No,
Lee.
it's the state.
Oh,
So the
okay.
state
All
does?
state monitored.
So the state's the monitoring body?
That is correct.
All right. And, okay.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Okay, any questions, any more questions on, go ahead.
Is there any, like, this particular agreement for me, it's just occupational tax for this, right?
For local, yes, that is correct.
All right.
State's giving them something too.
Right.
Is the
Well,
state giving
we opened the door.
them property tax?
The state gave them, it was their occupational tax too.
It's corporate income.
Yeah.
The income tax.
Oh, corporate income.
corporate
So they
income.
can, the state can do a
Corporate income.
variety of things, but with the KBI, they require that the local government not match equally, but have skin in the game is ultimately what they're asking for. And this is what we've done, every KBI that I've worked. I don't know what you've done prior to that.
The 600's
But I
been
think
the
it's
same
the-
thing.
I think it's the
We did one
same.
where we did a full 1%.
We did. You've got a better.
This is
you're
an
younger.
incentive to bring
Better,
people in,
better.
but at the same time, we're not giving them everything free, we still get our half of. our-
Correct, and you, and then after the 10 years, you get plus your property tax goes up because this building is now being used.
It's 5 years, isn't it?
Your I don't know.
It says
Yeah.
5, I'm.
Yeah,
hoping
sorry
it's
about
not
that. We do
10.
some for 5 and some for 10, so I do
Okay.
see it here. So after that time, you have all your occupational taxes. But in the meantime, you have equipment taxes, you have, you add value to the property, so your property taxes go up. So you do actually, and then you have people within your community who are making money and they're spending it within your community, so you still benefit from it
Hopefully
during the
those
first
jobs
5
are coming
years.
from folks in our community.
Yeah,
So
correct.
how was this amount settled on, the half of 1%?
Well,
How was it derived?
in their contract, which, did we provide them a copy of the contract itself? The Nashida contract itself? So in their contract, the Cabinet for Economic Development gets together with the company and they say, okay, this is how much money this is what you're gonna offer up. You're gonna spend a certain amount of money on improvements to your facility, so that's an increase in property value, and then you're gonna create so many jobs, which will create, a tax value of a certain number. And then they look at the amount of money that the state project, their state incentive will offer this company. And then the gap ultimately is what the local number is. And they try to work those numbers so they fill that gap. Now, that being said, there is a there's a cap to every incentive. And more times than not, you reach the cap with the state funding and it never actually gets to the local funding. I'm
So
not
are
sure
you
that any of
saying-
ours have ever gotten to local.
So are you saying that they will have to go ahead and pay their occupational tax?
Half of it, I guess.
Okay,
Full?
so, yeah.
Full 1%? I just want to understand what you said.
Yeah, the way this
She's gonna
works is
tell you
that you
this.
create
Right,
30
that's what I'm
jobs, and then they would go back before the KEDFA board and be approved to start being able to collect the occupational taxes from those employees and keep that occupational tax, or do they run it back through you and then write you a check? Please.
Yeah, I really want to
Yeah.
understand this because
Yeah, no, go ahead, yeah, because I don't know exactly how you all do it.
the city has
We have
just
never had to pay.
made a statement that they collect $18 million last week. They made the statement in occupational
Yes,
taxes.
they did.
We collect 27% of that amount. We're right at like 4 and change.
That's up to
Okay, and so it is very difficult
Yes.
for us to all the services people are requesting for us. Our pot of available dollars is smaller and gets smaller when individuals who are working move from the county into the city. So our pot continues to shrink. And now our pot potentially could shrink again. I just
Well, that's
want to
why-
understand.
These
I
are
just-
jobs that aren't there right
Yeah,
They're
now.
that's what I
not,
was gonna
that
say.
is
They won't
correct. They're not
shrink.
there, they're not there.
Yeah.
And these are in
now,
the
but our
county.
pot- That's exactly right.
Right,
Yep,
so,
yep.
yeah.
And
So-
let,
That's okay.
No, no,
I'll hold
I
what
see,
I
no,
have to say.
I see exactly
You know
what you're
exactly
saying.
where
I
I'm
see
saying.
exactly what you're saying. But what Lambert is saying is right also. At this point, these jobs don't exist.
Correct.
And with the KBI, there is a but-for clause. And the company has said, without these incentives, we will not come here and we will not create these jobs.
Right.
So I understand where you're coming from in that you feel like we would have this money if we didn't give them this incentive, but we actually wouldn't, because they've said in the contract that they
Sure.
would not.
And I don't
So-
know how strong that is, but where I was ultimately going is what negotiation power does the county have? Maybe it's not the 1/2 of 1%, maybe it's 0.25. Does the county have any negotiation in that area? That's ultimately where I'm
that's-
going with this
That's a great
whole-
question, and I'm gonna guess, I
It
don't know
is.
which one we paid the 1% on, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna guess that we had to go up to the 1%, or the numbers would not match,
That's
would
why
not
I'm
work.
trying to figure out where we are and how that
Hold
was
on, let her finish,
calculated to.
And that number is determined by the state as they work through that original
Okay.
application.
Okay.
All right, when
If they
you
do-
said the gap, that we, the local, has to fill in the gap, there means that there is a certain amount that is set.
A cap
in the
amount. Correct.
Contract, and how is that set? Negotiation between the Cabinet for Economic Development and the company?
Correct.
And if the state doesn't offer enough to meet that amount, then we look to the local to make up for it.
That is correct, but so far, we've not ever had one that the state didn't meet the amount, so they've never actually
Oh.
taken a local incentive.
Well,
To date.
Yeah,
Right.
to date, I'm not saying.
Let's do the yet.
Right.
Yeah, let's,
That is important. And again, if you refer to your audit report, it will outline the specific terms of the abatements that we already have in place that are in process, but we have not abated any money to date.
yeah.
But they've increased jobs, and they've stayed
Yes,
in, and they've
it's all
invested
about
in
the
their.
jobs.
So
It's
it's, so
totally
this
It is
is,
about the
jobs.
this is all
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
plus.
Yes.
I just wanted to understand the gap.
And yes, ma'am, you're correct, but also as they're building up to those 30 jobs, those workers are contributing their payroll tax.
Yes,
And that
I
money is
understand.
coming to the county in the process of them building up. So until they have 30 jobs and activate, which is the terminology they use, we are getting, we will be benefiting from that payroll.
And they have to
I'm sorry.
activate those within 5 years?
Do they, I'm sorry?
What's the 5-year limit?
Well, that's after they
It's
activate.
good, yeah,
Yeah.
it's good for 5 years after they activate. So they could have 29 employees for the next year and a half, but they wouldn't be able to activate. And so for those 29 employees for the next year and a half would be paying the occupational tax just like every other employee in the county. Then at 30, at the 30 number, then they reach
have
their activation.
An incentive to hire new people, okay.
Yes, correct.
And it is the state, let me just clarify, there is monitoring done on the part of the occupational tax office here. Okay,
Oh, good.
there is monitoring of all the businesses in Franklin County licensed, okay?
She's not here.
And so that monitoring does take place, but to the extent that they have to meet the criteria of the economic development rules and all of that other part of the state threshold that we talked about, that's up to the state. And every time we've talked to them, and we've talked to them numerous times over the years,
Yeah.
they are sure, it's all about the jobs, it's all about the jobs. And when there are, we have a sharing agreement, a confidentiality sharing agreement with them, where we have access to information. So at the point in time where any one of these companies come to us and ask for a rebate, then the office, the administrator's office, whether it be the tax administrator or the treasurer's office, will be involved in detail with making sure that they have met the criteria at the state before we give any money back, okay? And they would have to still comply with the documentation that our ordinance requires of them. Now, to the concern of Squire Sebastian, do need to comment that this is a new business in the county, and it is split 50-50.
Now,
Yes.
I'd heard that this was one of the original ones, and so it's not one of those that are split.
What do you
Yeah.
mean, one of the original?
One of the,
Before that,
before the
agreement.
agreement. was-
This gets to that.
This is a
article
new
language.
business. They
Is it-
just
is
came-
it-
Yeah, they
okay.
just came
This is a
here.
new, right.
Oh, well, if we do
And if
get
they do
50%.
35 jobs, we get,
Yes.
well, I mean,
If they do
they
35
don't
jobs,
retain anything off the 5.
that's correct.
So this is a new business, NASCA. Are they projecting 30, 35 jobs, or could this potentially be 200 jobs?
It could potentially be 200 jobs. They're a new company here. They're an automotive, third tier, I believe,
okay. It is
supplier.
30%.
And they, so they got here, got in. The first phase that they're gonna go to KBI for is this 30 job number. That's kind of their phase one magic number. Obviously, they could go back for phase two or all, phase over and over again.
So we have to approve this before they can go and finish their negotiations with the state.
Well, the negotiations with the state are done, and this is what they told them has to happen. And so you have to approve it, because if they don't have the approval of the local incentive, then they don't qualify for the state.
Squire Muller.
Well, my question was, is it new or existing?
It's my fault.
Right.
I apologize
No,
for
it's fine.
saying
No,
that. I was given,
No, you're fine. But then the next one is, where would they be located? Is it a new building, construction?
No, they're in the, so if you turn into the Industrial Park 3, come to the four-way stop, the only building down on your right, there in the bottom.
So they're infilling an existing building?
Yes, they're leasing an existing
Thank you.
building.
But it is a new business.
It
And
is a new
that's why
business.
you mentioned the remodeling, because
Yes,
that confused us.
yes, correct.
That confused us, yes. Okay.
all right. Thank you. All right. Next item, Andrew and Robert. And we've got a special guest here to answer any questions. Andrew, Robert, you want to talk about the Bluegrass Area Development, our phase 2 of our eGov portal?
Yes, thank you, Judge. So we have successfully completed phase 1 with Bluegrass Area Development District. James Wisenhunt is our contact there, and he oversees their GIS and IT department, in which they created our wonderful county website. We have online mapping now for realtors, appraisers, surveyors, and the like. We have our landfill vouchers. So in discussions, there was a desire to accommodate Lakeview Park and to provide an online portal for individuals looking to learn about amenities, learn about fees and possibly reservations, things of that nature, and also an attempt to minimize redundancy in the work that your current staff is doing to secure those for our constituents. The other item in a discussion with the county clerk was to provide an online mapping software that would allow a resident to click on their piece of property and learn all about the elected officials specific to their property, all the way from local elections all the way up to the state and federal elections. Bluegrass Ad has experience in doing that for other communities. Your county clerk, Mr. Hancock, saw that at one of his conferences, was really excited about it and asked if that was something that we could consider. And so we definitely did. And so the agreement that you have before you now is to move into phase 2, again with Bluegrass Ad. They have proven to fulfill the work as we have requested. And they've done it in a timely manner. We were very pleased with phase 1 and would like to propose phase 2. Mr. Wisenhunt is here to answer any specific questions, either relating to the contract, the agreement, or the work to be performed.
Welcome, James. I bet you've learned a lot tonight, haven't you?
I did. I should have talked to Robert. It's like, well, you can be here by 6. There's a lot of stuff in front of you. I'm like, no, I could have been here by 7.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Wisenhunt?
Mr. Hancock's here also, if you want any questions.
Squire
for him.
Sebastian.
We think this could be great for him.
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask, I guess Andrew and Mr. Wisenhunt, how many phases are we envisioned in this eGov portal? How many phases are we thinking to do the full range of services that we've envisioned as a county? And that was probably under another court. I just want to understand
I
it.
believe originally we were talking, and Robert and James can kind of correct me if I'm wrong. I think originally we kind of mapped out, I think 5 phases potentially. But one of the nice things that one of the things we really realized is that while we would love to do everything at one time, that just wasn't going to be possible. Sure. And one of the nice things about doing it in phases is that we can identify what we think the most priority is. Like I believe, originally we were thinking maybe we go into planning and zoning portal, but as we reevaluated where we stood, what we thought the most need was, we realized that, the park portal was more important for phase 2. So, and as long with the voter, I know Mr. Hancock is very supportive of that, really wants that. So those are the 2 most priority.
ordinance.
So potentially up to 5 phases, but, if we decide, like we told the last court, if you decide that phase 3, we're done, we're done.
It's totally up to you. We're as flexible as you are. Whatever your needs are, we can provide it. If you want to go 2, 3, or 10, it doesn't matter to me.
Well,
We kept it at the original breakdown with sort of discrete goals. And that's why you'll see phase 2, 3, I said 42, but there's not 42 of them. As different things come and become available online, for example, a link to hopefully your codification stuff would be in the next 2. But the idea was to start small and the court decide what direction to go as it built up. So this is the second grouping. And then if you go to phase 3, or there's more things that the court wants to do, or phase 4, or Marty wants to change where the link is on the.
yes, I would like to.
I was gonna say, I didn't forget that one. To change that, you'll be asked to come back on each discrete section as more services get loaded online, because the court didn't want to commit to that much money all up front to do it all at one time because of the changing dynamics.
Yeah,
So-
well, we're spending more money than we originally thought we would spend though, aren't we?
No.
Not all total, no ma'am.
Oh, well, good, okay.
Squire Sebastian.
So if there was, so Robert mentioned some demonstrated experience that Bluegrass Area Development had in similar sites to this. So if they've already performed some similar services in developing other things, you all would have platforms already developed, so would the expense still be the same? Because if there are things that you
If
can,
I already have it developed, it's not the same price as if I have to develop it from scratch.
right, I understand that. So I'm just trying to figure out if
Well,
there's
the-
any opportunity for that, because maybe other counties have benefited from the services that you've developed that are similar.
Well, you're benefit, the website for the clerk's office, you're benefiting from them, because it took me a lot more money to do it initially than it is to do it now, because I already have it done. What I'm doing is I'm just paying for the compiling all the data and pushing it out there and setting up the services, so I don't
You
know if
mean
that is.
space on the server, is that what you mean?
I'm sorry?
Do you mean that you're storing the data
Yes, ma'am.
that you create
Yes,
on your
ma'am.
server?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's part of the fee.
Yes, ma'am. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I still have just
Go ahead.
a couple of things. Who's gonna administer the portal for our county? Who's gonna administer this part of the portal?
They
Who
do
will
for
that?
$600. That's part of the maintenance
So
fee.
that's the maintenance fee? That's included in the,
I maintain that for $600.
okay, so that's
That
what the
includes-
maintenance fee is,
That
okay.
includes the
Sure.
Doctor program,
Mhm.
and that includes this program. Now, I think the maintenance of your county website is different because we're hosting that somewhere else. That way you can have better access to it. But
Oh,
We're
really?
all, that $600 includes the website. That's a maintenance fee, I
Okay.
believe.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if
Yearly.
that was it or not.
Yes.
But that's,
So what's the SLA if the site crashes?
what's that?
What's the restoration time, the service level agreement? What is that in case the site crashes? Let's say it's heavy in the summer and weddings are out the roof. And people are, people have called in and said, oh, the site has crashed, I can't book my wedding, or I can't. I'm just trying to figure out how that,
As far as
how we
backups
restore that, how
go,
quickly.
Um,
Because there's usually a service level agreement when there's somebody else hosting the site and managing the site that tells you how quickly it can be restored, or when you should see service restored.
we have off-site backups and we have on-site backups. So if something
Good.
happens to my servers, you'll be the first priority that I get there. I'm not gonna, I'll get it back up and running fairly quickly. Because once I get.
I like being the first priority in the
Yeah.
bluegrass area. That's great.
That's right.
That's awesome.
It all kinds, works together. Once I get my GIS services back up, that's most important to me. And all this data is part of that. So once that is up and running,
Yeah,
it's all good to go, so.
that's good.
James, do you not provide the same support services for other counties and communities?
Oh, absolutely. We have
So we would not be the first.
What's that?
Yeah, he
We
said
would
you
not be the first.
But you're all coming back online at the same time.
Very good, thank you.
I just want to be real clear about that because I heard we're first.
Okay,
Yeah,
hold on, hold on,
I
hold
do
on.
Thank you.
Squire Muller's had his hand up before
Well,
everybody.
somebody-
Squire Muller.
I was just curious, Robert, what would it take to put planning and zoning up?
That would take some time. That would be, there's a lot to that. To depends on how involved you wanna get. I mean, you know, we're doing some things that are convenience factors for people and planning and zoning, and we're talking possibly online plan submittal and all these kinds of things. We're talking large data storage, complicated forms, encryption, things of that nature. It can be done, but it's.
James, is that something you've done for other communities kind of our size? Could you maybe get us a quote to see maybe what that would?
For planning and zoning?
I'm not trying to tell you right now. To get
Squire,
anything.
you're a little ahead of the game, because we've been talking about that, is the budget. We're trying to get that, so when it comes budget time, that we can have a figure to propose that as part of the technology budget, to do that.
Yes,
So
it is in the
yes, we're-
part of it, yes.
Yeah,
Which haven't- yeah.
we're looking at that.
Recall that part of the codification process included ordinances passed under the auspices of planning and zoning, and those will be included in that codification subsection as well. Maybe not the forms unless they're incorporated, but that process will incorporate a lot of the rules and regs that are involved in it.
And Squire Mueller, I would like to add that what we've discussed in these working groups is not only have form submittals online, but allow inspectors to use tablets out in the field, to provide inspections and email inspection reports out on the fly.
Say that, I said his hand.
Just automate things and reduce redundancy, paperwork, and all those things, make it efficient.
Squire Booth.
All right. Well, the county, our counselor misstated my request. Everything that we add to the website, well, first place, the graphic takes up too much room, and you have to scroll down, but you don't say scroll down. So that's confusing to a first-time visitor. So either you say, scroll down to see our services, our major links, or you put the links up there where they are seen when the website first comes up.
Yes, and I would like to add that I have been talking with Andrew about that. So our landing sites, when we land and we actually we see a picture and a huge banner, it's not convenient, because when you go to our website, you're looking for the information. You're looking to see who your magistrates are, and you don't want to land on a page that just says magistrates. You want to be able to get to the information that you're actually looking for, and we've been in discussions with Andrew on trying to get some of that, but the website is still a work in progress. So that is something that we have been.
You can take care of that, can't you? Or do you take care of
Yeah,
it?
he's not gonna take care of it till we request what he wants, so.
Right, well, you know, I manage the day-to-day parts of our website, so I mean, that's potentially, you know, I can handle some of that. You know, what I'm hearing is some pretty major, you know,
Yeah, it's
redesigning.
major, but
Yeah.
it needs to be done,
Okay,
in my opinion.
okay. Squire Tracy.
Yes, you could go on now.
Question for Susan. It's saying that, the county will be billed $5,000 upon signing this contract?
Yes, sir.
Is it, can we pay for work that has not been completed?
I didn't read that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in there.
News to
I
me
saw it.
at this point, Rick.
And the reason I ask is,
Do we get a license agreement or something with that? This is a county attorney question.
oh,
Do we get a license agreement or something with that? In some cases, we do, especially when it comes to computers and computer support and those sorts of things. The value that we get to justify that expense up front is in the form of a actual license agreement and with terms
Right.
checked.
the only reason I
So
ask is
don't-
up above it.
Yeah.
Up above it, it says lump sum basis of 10,000, and then below.
Breakdown
Yeah.
5 and 5.
That is confusing.
Remember, the things that we can't provide and prepay for are things. This isn't a thing that is being purchased. This is a service that is being provided to lock them in to initiate the work. I don't see any problem with prepay, because you're not prepaying it. They're not ordering widgets from Lowe's.
That's why I asked you
Yeah,
guys.
you're okay with locking them in to do their job for 5 and 5. If it were widgets from Lowe's, I'd be going, oh, wait until they get
Okay.
delivered, but no, they're gonna be providing a service to lock
Yes,
them.
okay, too.
Okay,
As everybody said today, good questions.
okay,
Crossing the bridge, crossing the bridge.
okay.
Hey, can I ask one other question of you, Andrew? How is everything going with that Win 10 upgrade from Win 7? Because Win 7, you know, initially went out of support in 2015.
Right.
Now, they've extended the life of that, but they have notified people for 5 years that it's going away.
Right,
And so it is, what's today? It's gone away.
right.
It's
We're-
completely out of support, 100% out of support.
We're in the process of doing upgrades right now. We've done, I don't know, 20 maybe off the top of my head.
So is there an image, then you just are able to remote into a machine and take care of it that way? I mean, have you created an image for Win 10, or how are you handling it?
Yeah, we create each machine, we create a backup image, and then I have installation files that I can go to the machine and just do the reinstallation. And McAllen's helped us a little bit with some, so they've kind of helped take some things, and I'm doing some things. I'm doing 2 tomorrow morning, actually. I'm doing 2 Win 10 upgrades.
Are there any of our machines that are so old they will not run Win 10?
Potentially, I've identified 1, maybe 2 machines at this point.
And
But, you know, that's, you know, we, generally I plan to, you know, upgrade a machine or 2 every year, so.
how many do we have? How many machines do we have? I've asked that question in strategic planning. I still don't know the answer.
I can't tell you right off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and count. You know, under the fiscal court, under the, you know, directly under the judge, I would say, I'm just guessing 30. That's just a guess. I'd have to go back and count.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Jeff?
I'm not trying to complicate anything, but this is very important that we get this part of the website up as soon as possible. It's something that the constituents are asking for. Everybody wants to be able to go on, find their house, find out who they vote for, where they vote at. And they have this exact same program, and if you want to look at it, in Anderson and in Woodford, both of our neighboring counties have it. It's a very, very, very nice
Yeah,
website.
political subdivisions. Google doesn't do.
Okay, Marty, let him finish.
I'm advocating for it, and I hope that's something that you all will approve.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
The next item is,
Thank you.
we sent out an RFP for events planning management services. Miss Ann, you want to comment when it was sent out and the process and what happened, the result? Thank you for coming up.
Thank you. We put out an RFP for this service, published twice in the State Journal and was on our website the entire time. We also had paper copies at the front desk, and we did not receive any bids. We had a bid opening scheduled for last Thursday morning at 10 a.m. and no bids had arrived.
Really? Wow.
So we brought that to the park committee. The park committee, we're in discussion, said, we'll get a schedule of ideas on events and present it back to the court at that point, right? Everybody got that?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk for a minute if you want. Scott, go ahead, sir.
Judge, if you don't mind, again, I would like for Ann to reach out to Kentucky State. I emailed you the information in regards to maybe some internship opportunities. Dr. Greenfield is who I emailed you all his
Yes, you did.
information.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I was just gonna say, you know, after talking to you, Judge, you know, and he told us no one turned anything in, you know, I reached out to, you know, Kiwanis, the Chamber of Commerce, the sheriff, who I think is with us tonight, about creating a committee in addition to the park committee, because that's one thing our county attorney said, you know, you need to have a committee so you all don't miss anything in the future. So that's kind of where it is right now. We're still hoping to pull a nice committee together and offer some events that are free to the public at the park and or anywhere else. Hopefully, you know, 5 to 6 events with Charlie's help also. Didn't mean to leave Charlie out. You know, this year. So that's kind of where we're at.
That's what I said the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just getting it.
I just wanted to let everybody else know.
Subcommittee.
So,
Yeah.
Or
What committees, huh?
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
all right, thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ann.
Thanks, Sam.
Next item is authorization to approve the appointment of Jules Foster to the Franklin County Tourist and Convention Commission. She is going to fill the remainder of the term from Bob Stewart, who passed away. Jules comes with a.
I thought it was Julianne. Is it Jules?
Well, she goes by Jules.
Oh, okay.
I sat down with Robin and talked with Robin about some ideas to get on the same par the best we could to meet with the experience that Bob Stewart had, and Robin suggested several names, and this was one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
she-
we're gonna have a hard time filling Bob's shoes.
Mhm.
On
Absolutely.
anything, on anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, very hard.
We
to
knew
fill.
that.
But Jules is a good candidate. She's been in the tourism industry for a while, having worked at Liberty Hall and now at Salado. So I think she'll be a really good member and a good representative for the county position.
Okay.
How many people on the board total, Robin?
We have 7 members.
And so they represent who?
There's a state statute that defines the board membership. There are 3 appointees from the hotel motel industry, 1 from the restaurant industry, 1 from the chamber, 1 from the judge executive of the Franklin County, and 1 from the mayor. I think that adds up to 7. Yes.
Okay,
Thank
good to know.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Any more questions? All right, thanks, Robin. The next item is, we're gonna pull off the agenda number 9, just to hire a light equipment operator. Just today, situation occurred and we're pulling that off. The next item is authorization to hire firefighter, chief.
Good evening, Court.
Good evening.
We are asking for authorization to hire a firefighter. The background on this is this applicant is the next available qualified applicant on the list with the CPAC. Questions, thoughts?
I am just so proud of you that you have a list like that.
Yes, ma'am. It's really convenient to have a current approved list to be able to draw from, and we hope we get that number of quality applicants in the process that we're going through at this time. So anybody
Okay,
who's
good.
interested, please
Tell them.
get your application in.
Okay.
What is the deadline for getting your application and to be on the list for this year?
I think it is February 3rd. Is that correct, Chief? Yep.
That's next week.
February 3rd, sometime o'clock. It's on our website at Franklin County Fiscal Court.
So did you have somebody retire or leave?
We had a slot open up. Yes, sir.
What station?
It was a rookie.
Okay.
So Chief, just an FYI, we've talked about this before, and I don't see Jake being part of it. And I mentioned you too, Sheriff, that it's March the 3rd, I believe it is, there is a job fair that's sponsored by Bluegrass, partly by Bluegrass Ad. Being on the board of Bluegrass Ad, it's gonna be at the Paul Sawyer Library, that I asked them to get in touch with you and the jailer and you to, if you all wanted to be there as a presentation as part of this job fair, because our list is getting smaller and smaller
Yeah,
Oh,
and
so
smaller.
that's
So
one.
anyway, they'll be in touch with you to talk with you about being there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on that one? All right. Next item is authorization to hire a part-time receptionist. And I'm sad to say that Phyllis Hornbeck is leaving. She has decided to retire, and we're going to miss her dearly. And Ms. Tamber is here. Betty Jo became ill this morning and had to go home. Couldn't be here to present this. So Tamber, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. So yes, I'll reiterate what Judge Wells says. Phyllis has been wonderful for our office, and we are going to miss her and wish her the best in her retirement. We received 18 applications. We received some really great applications. We typically don't interview 7, but we received so many great applications that we went ahead and interviewed 7, and it was a tough choice. So the applicant that you have in front of you, I have no doubt she will do a wonderful job for us.
Okay.
I think you probably know, most of you know where she's from around here. Very good person.
Wellington Road.
Okay, any other questions on that? All right, let's go to budget transfers, Ms. Susan.
During well, there are two items. We are audited annually on our workers' comp. Our initial premium is based on an estimate, so after the audit, we get billed for the difference. We have a contingency for transfers that was created basically from a workers' comp premium rebate over time that we had already amended in earlier in the year. So that line item, that contingency can help cover that workers' comp. And then also in a prior court, the sheriff identified a problem at the safety building out there. And there's an estimate that I think Jeremy has come up with for the climate control of that area in that building to correct that issue, around $1,500. And with the sheriff being in the first term, our budget had provided appropriation at a level higher than that. So there's funds within the sheriff's fund area. It makes it real clean so that the expense stays with where the location of the building is. So that's our little bookkeeping for today.
Wait a minute. See.
Then
Squire Muller has a question.
Well, I was gonna ask Jeremy, is this for the evidence room we had talked about in the previous meeting? All right, thank you.
Money well spent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Susan, are you going on with,
the treasurer's report, again, just to remind court, we provide a financial report at the time the court packets go out. It's for that specific point in time. The filter on the top left always has the end of day of the month, but it's always for the point in time of the run date, which is at the bottom left. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
But if it's constantly changing, so I would have a different report today. But if you have any specific questions, be
Is it up or down?
both. Depends on what number you want to.
Oh, I just wondered if our revenue,
Well, we are, obviously, we are further along in the year, and yes, we are taking receipts in. As far as a measure of up from what, we're taking money in.
okay, good enough.
Yes, sir.
I had a question back on the budget transfer.
Yes.
When the audit was done on the actual payroll, was it, we just had more payroll, or did our experience rate
Okay, let me-
modification go up with our
Good, that's a
workers'
very
comp?
good, that's a very good question. Just last week, I sent in the CAECO requests the estimate for the next fiscal year.
I got you.
What do I have to work on? I have our current payroll. I have the audited payroll from 2019, and I have the CPI at 2.3%. So my estimates are based on our actuals from what we just got audited on, plus that CPI factor. There's no budget process in there. There's nothing that's taken place to affirm or, for any kind of increases. The fee office budgets are, because they're calendar year versus fiscal year, that muddies the estimate as well. So that estimate it's just that.
Well, I understand that, but was it because we paid more, or was it
Well,
because our cost for
Our workers'
compensation went up?
Our workers' comp factor has gone up because we've had some significant claims.
Right.
So we do have an impact on our exposure in some claims, definitely. If Betty Jo was here, she would have probably more to say about that. But if you look at that the experience ratio, whatever. Yeah, that was an impact last year. It continues to be an impact. So.
Susan, you want the bills? Payment of bills? Payment of bills? Okay, Thank you, Susan. The next item in other business, well, there's several in here, so bear with me. The first one, Charlie has, from the Park Committee, you have a presentation for the prices at the golf course.
Thank you, Judge. Did everybody get a copy in their packet? I just wanted to bring this proposal to the court for our memberships, for our golf course memberships at Lakeview Springs. And, you know, maybe these will offset the cost of turf and Humane Society and stuff like that. So.
Easy now, easy, easy.
No, these are tiny, tiny increases. This does not change the rates for daily golf or driving range use. This is memberships only.
Yeah.
Single range, $23 increase from $212 to $235. You know, you can see going down through there, very minimal increases. We combined family golf range. I mean, if y'all have any questions about any of this, throw it out. The biggest change we made was the small business membership. We used to have one that was up to 12 employees. We needed to get that more in line with the use that we're starting to get. So we got those in increments of 10 employees, up to 10, up to 20, up to 30.
Okay.
You know, and they're basically $200 a player. Yes. Question.
Charlie, how many memberships do we currently have out there?
Last year we had 80.
80?
Mm-hmm.
So is that kind of a range more
That's
like single, or is that?
That's going up. The biggest use was single range. But like I say, our small business membership started to get a lot of use. And that number 12 came into play, so we needed to have a scale to put different size businesses in, and also have the cost increase as, you know, the bigger the business.
Do we have any memberships that are higher businesses, higher employees, number businesses? I can't talk very well.
Then the 12 or the 50 or which number are you looking
Yeah,
at?
20, 30, 40, or 50.
No, 50 would encapsulate what we've had to date. You know, and if basically it's $200 a player, I mean, you could do it up to 100 and you'd take $20,000. I mean, you know what I mean? You could do that
Do
scale.
we have any memberships that are higher than 10 employees?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I can't speak.
That's okay.
How do you all keep up with the 12, let's say?
We have a binder, and they sign a form, and the players, each individual player gets a card, a membership card.
Oh, okay.
When they come into play, they have to sign in.
Country club.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for that part? Okay, Charlie?
Thank you.
Amber, will that be on the agenda for vote?
Yes, we will amend the agenda, and then the next action will be to vote it up or down.
The next item is on February 20th. That's the legislative day that some, if not all of you, have signed up for. I'm announcing a meeting with Representative Graham at 10 o'clock in his office. And so there, we have to do it by notice and do it as a special meeting for those who'd be there. The next item is Susan and maybe some others there. If you're interested, there is a training on budget. We did not know this when we did our schedule. On February the 21st, we have a 9 o'clock meeting on that day. If you want, we can change that meeting to 3 o'clock on that Friday to go to that budget training. If not, we'll just, if we're not going to have court members to go, we'll just stay with the 21st. So I throw that out for you to consider.
Okay.
No, that's okay, it's not the answer.
Oh. It reads that I understand what
Okay,
you're
oh,
saying.
okay, all right, okay. Well, I'm still looking for, what's the consensus of
You
the,
say move from 9 to 3 o'clock on the 21st?
if people want, if we're gonna have people, let's don't move it if we're not gonna have people go. First, I guess the first question would be, are there members of this court that are going to go to that training?
If you are, he's gonna change the.
Tamara,
Yeah,
I don't know why I didn't have that on my thing.
They just.
Oh, they just sent it out?
scheduled
Yeah, okay.
Yes, so I have, here's the registration information, and it shows the other locations, but unfortunately Frankfurt is the day of court. Also, Ms. Chris Schindler has reached out to us and, has invited the court, to come do a site visit for native vegetation,
I've seen it.
yeah, and if she would prefer February 21st as the date that the court can maybe do an off-site visit after court, her next available date would be March 12th. However, if we move the court meeting to 3, it's probably gonna make it too late to hold court and turn around and have, a fiscal court, road trip. So those, something else you might wanna consider.
We'll be doing road trips soon anyway. Just remember that. Traditionally in the spring at some point.
I think when I talked to her, she was hopeful we could do it in the winter time because you can actually see how bad the
Yeah.
invasives are,
That
so.
makes sense.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because they're.
before it leaves out, the other shrubs and trees
Yeah,
leave out.
because
Yeah, she thought she could do it March 12th, if you all were so inclined, however, it was still pushing it farther than she would
Weather we're having.
like.
Stop
So,
pushing.
if you're not
Anybody-
interested in the budget meeting, we can keep
Anybody
court the
interested?
same.
Well, now, wait a minute, we're gonna try to reschedule March 12th to March 16th, so,
yeah.
there won't be a March 12th meeting.
Are you going?
If,
So, we're talking about March 12th and shouldn't be talking about March 12th.
Okay,
We should be talking about March the
We're gonna
16th,
move it for
all
you.
right.
Tamara.
Is anyone going to the budget
You're good,
meeting?
Wendy.
There's no need to move it if you're not gonna go.
Yeah.
He already said, he told us to move it.
What?
You told us to move it.
He's doing this.
Well, you told us, that's why we got it on here, because you said move it.
Con Ed.
It's only every 3 years. You gotta go now. Come on. Keep going.
Yeah, let's move.
All right?
Okay.
Come in.
What day are we moving what?
From the 12th to the 16th of March.
well,
Okay, what are you doing the
We're all over the
12th?
place, Tamara, sorry.
oh, we probably should do February 21st before we move to
Yeah, we haven't done
March.
February 21st yet.
All right. Is there any magistrate going to the February 21st budget meeting at KCO? If not, then we're not gonna move the meeting. Sorry. Okay, we're gonna keep it on the 21st, and then we'll work with Chris Schindler on,
Yeah, I think
on
that'd be
time
good.
after that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Okay.
that'd be good.
All right, the next item is
It's all about-
Lambert, do you want us to move because of your vacation, the 12th meeting to the 16th?
No pressure.
Let's give every detail.
No
of it.
pressure, Lambert.
Yes.
All
Where are you
about
going?
Lambert.
Done. Don't ask him where he's going, just.
Straight to-
All right, so everybody okay with that? Okay, the next item is,
12th
On-
and 16th?
yes,
Still at 5 o'clock, correct, Judge?
yes.
Okay.
The next item is February the 10th at 5. The city is announcing, and I'm announcing tonight, there will be a special joint meeting with the city to hear a presentation by Craig Turner regarding parcel B and C. And Craig Turner is now part of that project with DW, I guess it's with DW
DW
Wilbur.
Wilbur.
Uh-huh. So he is now going to be part of the project. He's going to go through the details. The meeting will be at 5. The city is, that will be the first part of the meeting. The date is February the 10th at 5. Okay, and, so, it will be a special call meeting, that part of it, we will adjourn, then the city will go back into their regular meeting, and they're gonna have a work session, but we will adjourn and be not part of that. At their place,
Yeah.
5 o'clock at City Hall. The discussion will be a presentation and discussion on possible tax abatements of the property on parcel B and C. Okay. Constitutional officers report.
Judge?
Yes, sir.
You all mentioned the invasives. We got the school group coming over to meet with Chris this Thursday at 3:30 after school to work on the invasives at Lakeview Park.
Will you have Andrew, send that to Andrew, so I want him to come out and take pictures of it.
Okay.
Okay? Chris, you have something? Yes, sir?
One little thing, it's good news.
Yes, sir. We like good news.
It's just for you. This is the rest of our payroll for 2019, 399,000, so we're paid up from last year.
Lucky there.
Right.
Man.
Right up.
Good job,
Take it.
Sheriff. Wondering why he was here so late.
All right. Any other constitutional officers?
Judge, you got anything for us
What do you mean?
to report on?
About what?
Got anything from the last fiscal court meeting?
Between the fiscal court meetings, just asking if there was anything.
He already gave us one, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, the February 10th meeting is what mine.
Okay.
Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, committee, department reports or committees? You got a committee? Is that what you want to report on?
No, I was gonna ask John and the sheriff a question, but you
Okay,
can
go ahead.
No, I was,
Go ahead.
I had heard through the grapevines there was kind of a theft and stuff. I didn't know where, if that ended up
Theft?
anywhere or. Yeah.
I haven't heard a word. I don't know about the stuff, but yeah, we did have a thing.
Insurance files, like.
Insurance claim was filed.
The city took, we're talking about the.
Yeah, we need to-
They took the report, but they notified us, but I
It's road
haven't
department or
heard
city?
anything about it, so I guess it's probably gone for them. Kind of like trailers that disappeared, unfortunately.
That's what I just asked. So we're
Thank
in the
you.
city. You're physically in the city? Okay, so nothing's been found? So what have we done to, because I noticed in the bills that we just got, looks like we bought some, had to replace some chainsaws, right? Was there anything else that we had to replace, and what was taken? Just maybe so everybody has an idea.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The chainsaws,
Oh,
truck,
a truck?
yeah, they took an old truck, and a few miscellaneous hand tools. And
And no line on it? Sheriff?
We talked to the city that first day, but I haven't seen or heard any more about it, so probably not.
Judge, could I ask John to maybe go ahead, like, I just had a bunch of camera work done at our facility, you know, even like down there, you're pretty much one road in, one out, or no?
yeah, one road in, one road out, but I have no perimeter fencing.
Right.
Yeah, I got 6 cameras.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wow, they knew where the
Doing good.
cameras were then.
That's
Oh.
interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Okay, committee reports. Scotty, you want to report on park?
I think we pretty much touched on it. Park committee meeting, I guess the last one we had, Charlie brought proposals for rates. We touched on the opening of the bids for the event coordinator.
Sculptures?
The sculpture park.
What
spoke on
happened
that.
with the sculptures?
Melanie brought a proposal, a couple different proposals. I'll send that to you.
Okay.
Either doing, there's with some costs, doing 3 structures or 3 sculptures or 1 sculpture, and how we can kind of put it in our budget moving forward. I'll send that. I'll get that to
Yeah,
you.
that'd be good.
Yeah, it's a good meeting.
One other thing, I've got a meeting tomorrow on it, actually. It's very likely we'll have Reforest Frankfurt at Lakeview Park this spring.
Cool.
Good.
Thank you.
Good.
Sean was from the city, was here, we spoke about lights at the ball fields.
Oh, can't appreciate him having that extra part in there, in the back for the YMCA.
Park.
On the school properties, I think you were waiting on Rick or something for that school property,
Oh, the parking lot.
The parking lot,
Yeah.
we're working on the agreement for the parking lot for maintenance and construction for the spring, and that's to be circulated. Well, we had some other matters that came up that kind of limited that, namely the sheriff's things that's higher priority.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to get that done in January, 1st of February. I really hope to get it before the court today, but that was,
Yeah.
other than
No,
that.
because I know John said he's a little bit slower now, so that's.
All right, is there anything else?
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? If not, 5 minutes, 8:45.
Yeah.
Go under, we're already under, or over.
Robert won that bet.
Robert lost that bet.
This is the Franklin County Fiscal Court meeting of January 27th, 2020. Clerk calls the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Here.
Squire Blackburn.
Present.
Squire Muller.
Present.
Squire Tracy.
Here.
Squire Booth.
Here.
Squire Moore.
Accounted for.
Judge Wells.
Here. With the person that was accounted for, would you please stand for the pledge and lead us in the pledge, sir?
Let Marty get up. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Thank
you for calling attention to it.
First item on the agenda is authorization for approval of minutes from our regular meeting of January 8th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Here.
Judge Wells.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
I'm not sure he's accounted for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Judge Wells?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item is authorization to receive partial payment for the 2019 county clerk excess fees in the amount of $400,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian?
Yes.
Squire Blackburn?
Yes.
Squire Muller?
Yes.
Squire Tracy?
Yes.
Squire Booth?
Yes.
Squire Moore?
Yes.
Judge Wells?
Absolutely. Next item is authorization to approve a project development agreement with Energy Systems Group, ESG.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian?
I'm going to vote yes on this because I think it is a very important thing for our community in a way that we can reap a tremendous amount of savings for our county buildings. I am a bit concerned that construction is mentioned in this energy savings project, large-scale construction, but overall, I'm very excited about the opportunities of this project, so I enthusiastically vote yes for the savings that we're going to reap.
Squire Blackburn?
Yes.
Squire Muller?
Yes.
Squire Tracy?
Yes.
Squire Booth?
Yes.
Squire Moore?
Yes.
Judge Wells?
Yes. Next item is authorization to approve a resolution permitting a credit of 0.5% occupational tax license fee for new employees as part of an economic development project by Nashida Art Specialty Composite America Incorporated under the Kentucky Business Investment Program.
So moved.
Second.
Discuss, any other discussion? Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian?
Yes.
Squire Blackburn?
Yes.
Squire Muller?
Yes.
Squire Tracy?
Yes.
Squire Booth?
Yes.
Squire Moore?
Yes.
Judge Wells?
Yes. Next item is authorization to approve an agreement with the Bluegrass Area Development District for Phase 2 of the county's eGov portal. The money's in the budget.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian?
Yes.
Squire Blackburn?
Yes.
Squire Muller?
Yes.
Squire Tracy?
Yes.
Squire Booth?
Yeah, I vote yes, but I want some changes.
Squire. Squire Moore?
Yes.
Judge Wells?
Yes. Next item is authorization to approve appointment of Jules Foster to the Franklin County Tourist and Convention Commission. This is the county judge executive's appointment with the term ending June 30th, 2021, filling the unexpired term of our great friend, colleague, Bob Stewart, who passed away.
So moved.
A second.
Another discussion? Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian?
I think we're all stunned that we have to make this appointment. It's very saddened and very stunned, but we're excited about the person who is going to step forward to represent our community on this board, so I vote yes.
Squire Blackburn?
Yes.
Squire Muller?
Yes.
Squire Tracy?
Yes.
Squire Booth?
Yes, and rest in peace, Bobster.
Amen.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Yes. The next item is authorization to hire John Harris as a firefighter pending the CPAT certification, drug screen results, and background check.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Squire Booth. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, but I want to say thank you to Phyllis Hornbeck, who is, oh yeah, you're right. Sorry. Yes, on that. Sorry. Thank you. It's been a long night. The next item is authorization to hire Cindy Murphy in the position of part-time receptionist in the county judge's office. Thanks.
So moved.
Second.
And I want to say thanks to Phyllis Hornbeck. And Phyllis has done such a good job. It's been so, she's so friendly and been so amenable to people that are coming in and just made them feel right at home. I can't tell you the number of times, and I'm extremely proud of this, and you should be too, that when people come to this office, the two people that we have up front, Connie Noblet and Phyllis Hornbeck, are the first people they see, the first people they talk to. And there hasn't never been anybody that hadn't said, wow, the people at the front office, or the front of your office are great. So I thank Phyllis for all of her hard work and dedication. She loves it here. She would rather be retired. So with that, I vote yes. How's that? But not my turn.
Marty's killing me. Marty.
Motion, right?
We have a motion and a second. We just need to
Vote. Do it.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes, and I completely agree. Phyllis is a very charming voice and has a very charming manner when she meets people and is able to direct them very adeptly. So she will be along.
Squire Blackburn.
I want to say, I just repeat what the judge said. The first face when I would come in here for meetings or for whatever reason I was in here, she was so kind to me. And I'd like to add that on her resignation letter, she said she'd like to have the ability to come back in the future if she so desired. So I vote yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Is it my turn?
It is your turn now.
Yes, okay. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna get this straight here. The next item is authorization to approve budget transfers in the amount of $9,500 for the fiscal year 2019-2020.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, next item is authorization to receive the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, the next item is payment of bills. Is there a motion to deny any payment of any of the bills? Hearing none, bills are ordered to be paid. Next item is authorization to amend the agenda to add Lakeview Springs Golf membership price list under other business.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, next item is authorization to approve Lakeview Springs Golf membership prices.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
I'd like to thank Charlie and his staff for all the hard work they've put in on doing the research for the rates and things with the golf course, so I vote yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes, kudos to Charlie.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, and just to reiterate, we've got Judge Barton here, and Lakeview Park goes back before her, but she was here as it was being worked on, and Lakeview Park is such a tremendous asset to our community, and it's the golf course is one piece of it. It was actually the original park, and then the park expanded more and more, and we're so very proud of it. And we're lucky in this community. We're lucky that we have such a nice asset. With that, I vote yes. The next item is authorization to go into closed session to discuss pending or proposed litigation, KRS 61.81, subset 1, subset C, and no action will be taken.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian?
Yes.
Squire Blackburn?
Yes.
Squire Muller?
Yes.
Squire Tracy?
Yes.
Squire Booth?
Yes.
Squire Moore?
Yes.
Judge Wells?
Yes. Okay, if we can go quickly to the